Today's episode of Darkness Radio is brought to you by HelloFresh. Getting back into the fall season can be busy, but weeknights can be so much easier with foolproof step-by-step recipes ready in about 30 minutes or less. Go to HelloFresh.com/darkness16 and use code darkness16 for 16 free meals across 7 boxes and 3 free gifts. That's HelloFresh.com/darkness16 and use code darkness16 for 16 free meals across 7 boxes and 3 free gifts. Welcome into the best in true crime podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. I'm Tim Dennis. Got a good show for you today, folks. Want to jump right into it. Of course, at the end of the program here, we have Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals with Beer City Bruiser. We'll bring him in on the back part of the show today. Of course, yesterday was Monday, and a lot of you, that's not your favorite day. You might say, I don't like Mondays, and that's the name of the book we're going to be talking about today. You know, in America, we've had a hard time with school shootings. School shootings seem like they're popping up almost every other week, and it's one of those things that is become an epidemic in America. There had to be a beginning somewhere, and that beginning was in 1979 with Brenda Spencer, who was a seemingly average teenage girl living in a nice suburban neighborhood. And it seems like an ordinary day for those kids in that neighborhood as they were coming into school in a San Diego neighborhood in San Carlos. They decide to roll up to school, and that fateful day, Brenda decides that she's going to take out a 10-22 Ruger and start firing at the kids at the front of the school. And at that point, that's where everything turns around, and that's when violence in America starts. Now, you may say 1979, Tim, I don't remember 1979 as being the beginning of school shootings. Well, it was, and we're going to go through that with our guest today, the author of this book, Leigh Hunt. Leigh Hunt is a crime historian and broadcaster in the United Kingdom. He is a member of the American Society of Criminology and considered an expert on the I Don't Like Mondays school shooting in 1979. He thinks of San Diego as his hometown and lives in Olney, Buckinghamshire. Let's bring him in now to the program and have him join us here on True Crime Tuesday. How you doing, Leigh Hunt?
Hey, Tim. Thanks for having me. Great to be on your show.
Thank you for being with us today, my friend. A lot of people, and let's bring this up right away. This was a famous case in 1979. I think a lot of people may say, well, is that really the beginning of school shootings in America? I think we tend to think of Columbine as the beginning of that, but that really is the beginning of the school shooting epidemic in America, isn't it?
I think you're probably right. I mean, I've always called it the first of the modern school shooters. I think there was Charles Whitman in Austin at the university campus in the 60s. That was from a tower shooting down from a vantage point, a mass shooter, horrible, horrible scenes. Brenda Spencer in San Diego in 79, for me, was kind of the first modern because it was a teenager. It was somebody who was disenfranchised with society, who decided to lash out, and school was the target. I don't think she's, like Klebold and Harris from Columbine, because they plotted for a long time and attended the school and went after their peers. But certainly Brenda is in the annals as probably the first modern school shooter because it was just so famous. There was music written about her, that she was glorified as a school shooter. And I think a lot of experts and psychologists, and I suppose I'm an expert or they call me one, I think certainly it was her recognition from the shooting in 1979 that spurred the idea for many others to copy. And I'd like to I'd like to look back at it and just wonder why we did what we did in 1979 and how we dealt with it, and the significant growth of mass shootings on the back of Brenda Spencer. So maybe not the first school shooter per se or first school criminal per se, but certainly the origins of mass shooting in America goes directly back to Brenda Spencer.
And, and I encourage people, again, we're going to give you the link throughout the book or throughout the program to the book. Again, the book is called I Don't Like Mondays, the true story behind America's first modern school shooting. It's put out by Wild Blue Press, by the way. And there is a link in the description of the show, but again, wildbluepress.com. It's hard. I'll tell you, Brenda Spencer is a very hard person to unravel because there are so many twists and turns throughout this book here, Enley, about exactly what is going on. We think we have killers and shooters and people who commit crimes pigeonholed into one psychosis or another, or we have them pigeonholed into one motive or another. Brenda really is a complex case.
And I don't think ever properly defined. I think you're exactly right. I mean, my book sort of begins with the idea that psychologists and psychotherapists have done an excellent job in categorizing types of killers and types of shooters and types of, mass shooters. But they've done very little to curb its appetite. There doesn't seem to be any stop to the different ways that disenfranchised and angry young people are hitting the streets with weapons. I mean, I'm going to make no bones about it. I'm not against having guns. I'm not against that. I wasn't brought up with guns myself, but I understand the Constitution of America and the right to bear arms. I understand that. And for the vast majority of people who live in America, guns are part of their day-to-day lives. So I'm not one of these people that says ban guns and all of a sudden crime in school ends. But I am one of these people who say that perhaps the larger weaponry that takes out large amounts of people, it may not be necessary. But Brenda Spencer used a .22 Ruger, which was considered the children's gun in the 1970s, believe it or not. It was almost marketed as such. So when she received it from her father, and I'm getting into the story now, what makes Brenda so unique is that her father bought her this rifle for Christmas when she was 16, and about a month later, she used it to shoot 8, 9, and 10-year-olds across the street from her house. So, of course, immediately you'd say, what are you doing giving a young person a gun? But actually, statistically, if you look at the United States and other countries as well, children who are much younger than Brenda maintain and use .22 rifles and larger weaponry without this ever happening. So I'm not making any sweeping statement or any sweeping decision about America and its gun laws in this book, and I'm not going to touch it. But it is what it is. And Brenda was a very capable person with a firearm, and she chose, for whatever reason, still undecided, still unknown, shot across the road to the kids. We can get into the book and how we get to it, because it's actually the story that actually makes this so fascinating. Sorry for jumping ahead.
No. And you're absolutely fine with doing that, because I was about to get to that point here in just a moment. Because you do bring up an interesting point, and that is this: there is the raging gun debate in America, and like you said, we're not going to solve that here in this conversation. And you bring up a very excellent point. In the late 1970s, and Brenda at this point, I believe, is 16 years old, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so she's 16 at an age where kids are taking gun safety. And as we get into the story, we find out that she is going out into the desert with her father and shooting at targets and getting training for guns. So it's not like she isn't versed at shooting. She isn't. She knows how to take apart guns. She knows how to clean guns. She's well versed in the use of guns. So it's not like
in really simple terms. She had a pellet gun for years.
Right. Yeah.
And earned the right in her father's eyes to have her own weapon. So this is not this is not the case of, hey, look, surprise, Brenda, a gun. It just wasn't. It was the norm for her. So not just maintaining the weapon, you're so right. She did know how to take it apart, and she kept it super clean. She also knew how to be safe with the weapon.
Yes.
And she discharged the weapon with absolute military precision.
Correct.
As well. I know that sounds very harsh for the victims or anyone else who's a victim of gun crime. She executed her plan with absolute precision. And for a 16-year-old, it's just quite remarkable. It's quite a remarkable story and needs to be told. And I hope this book is going to shed light to, and maybe bring some closure to some people who've been victims of school shooting as well.
Correct. Yeah, you're right. You're right about that. And with that, I think we can safely jump into the story now. Let's get a little bit of background here, Enley, about Brenda Spencer and exactly who she was, because really she's more than just the sum of lining up a gun across the street from a school and opening fire on children. Who is Brenda
okay.
Spencer?
I'll fire into it. She's not unlike any other California kid. She was born in California, has an older brother, has an older sister. Her family are from Arkansas. Her mom and her dad were from the sort of mid-South, I guess, that southern area. And they all came over to that huge influx of people who were coming into California in the late 50s and 60s. They move into California. They divorce, as so many other parents do. What's different about Brenda's upbringing is that once in California, the father and mother are both very professional people with a job. She handled most of the money, and he was an audiovisual specialist at the university. When the parents divorced, the father took custody of all the children. And this becomes a big part of the story of Brenda's life, because the two older brother and sister, it was said that by the mother that the father was far less rigid with them. The mother was more of the disciplinarian. So the two older kids, when given a choice by the judge, and the 70s were a very different time for these types of cases. Mm-hmm. It's not like it is today. When parents divorced back in the 70s, it could go either way. The older children wanted to live with the father, and Brenda just went along for the ride. So she was kind of a passenger in a lot of what was going on. Her father, Wally, is an interesting character. We'll get into his, because his influence on Brenda is quite remarkable. He was as cheap as you could get. He was the kind of guy who, when he had $1, he spent it, didn't know where it was, and then he found himself left with no money. He was kind of this, I'm not giving him any credit, but he did kind of just make do with what he had, and he was penny pinching, and he fixed his car to the point where, that engine just wasn't going to, to the last dime he was going to save. It's just the way he was. Yeah. The mother was more of a saver, and she had the house around the corner, and Brenda was able to go visit her mom, but she was always working. Wally, her father, was always out doing his business, and he was taking night classes. And Brenda kind of just found herself kind of with a lot of free time, I suppose, in the house. And there's nothing unusual about that. I was a California kid. I was the same way. I was a latchkey kid. Both in California, both your parents have to work. Come on. Yeah. So there's nothing unusual about it. The brother, Scott, he was a very popular guy at school. But a number of things happened in San Diego growing up, especially around their neighborhood, that does have influence on her. And in fact, when she goes back to Arkansas as well, there's a lot of things that happen in Arkansas that have influence on her. She was taught how to use a weapon. She taught how to use a weapon efficiently. There was another, getting into sort of influences, there's another criminal in Arkansas who shot 2 police officers. Her name was Brenda Spencer, Brenda K. Spencer. Her family used to joke with Brenda, oh, she's got the same name as you. You're going to grow up and be just like Brenda Spencer because you're a Brenda Spencer. Back in California, Patty Hearst was just happening. Watergate was happening. The hippie movement was on a closure. The Manson family. We're talking a time going way, way back. I mean, I was just born myself. This was a strange time. The 70s were different than a lot of decades. And those that can remember it will be nodding, saying, yeah, a lot of crazy things happened in the 70s. Brenda was, I suppose, the last crazy thing that happened in the 70s, but there were so many other things along the way. So her influence, it's quite remarkable how she gets to this point with the gun in her hand, looking out the window, deciding that I'm going to fire. There's a lot of influences. Her brother was arrested for drugs and released, not charged. The father had a lot of prescription drugs. She was said to be taking some of those. The neighbors all knew them as the weird family, probably because the father would paint his own house, not very nicely compared to all the beautiful and manicured lawns. This neighborhood is not unlike the Stranger Things neighborhood. It's very sort of Spielberg-esque. It's like this beautiful track homes. And, this was the modern California. I mean, by today's standard, it looks a bit dated. But at the time, 1979, this was quite a nice suburb of San Diego. The last place you'd think somebody would pick up a weapon, and the last place you'd think a 16-year-old girl would pick up a weapon and fire across the road. So that's that's the basis of her upbringing. There's far more in the book, but there is a neighbor who lives 3 doors down who is best friends with her brother, who's arrested for axe crimes. He hacks his family with an axe, and his brother and her brother Scott goes to school with the younger brother who was in a wheelchair for the rest of his life. There's people up the other side of the street who are also arrested for murder. It's quite behind the scenes, you wouldn't know this is happening in these tiny neighborhoods, but it did happen. And Brenda was kind of in the middle of it, actually, at a very young age.
Wow.
If I'm going to keep going, because
go ahead.
There's interesting points here. There's some interesting points with Brenda as well.
Yeah.
Because I think that the age difference between her and her brother and sister, she was a few years younger.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not necessarily going to say there was neglect by her father, but she was certainly not the top of his mind. Mm-hmm. She befriended her neighbor, who was a few years younger than her, and his name was Brant Fleming. Mm-hmm. And she was quite a bragger. And she was quite proud that she could do things that he couldn't. And she was very small for her age as a girl, and he was quite a good-sized lad for a 13-year-old. So they kind of saw eye to eye, and they kind of became best friends. So the 16-year-old girl was kind of best friends with this neighbor kid, and he admired her. And they kind of created this very funny type friendship where they were both arrested for stealing from the local drugstore. They're often on their bikes in the streets, stopping cars and causing small little childish mayhem. But a year before the shooting, they were actually broke into the school that she ends up shooting. And they tear a few things apart and get arrested by the cops and are simply just released back to their parents. Hey, this is the 1970s. Right. Why, we're not going to go do the whole song and dance that we do with kids today, or even if we do that today. I'm not so sure on that.
Right.
But she certainly had a small track record leading in. She stopped attending school. She claimed that she suffered from PMS very badly, and it was affecting her ability to think rationally. And according to Brenda, who I've been communicating with for a number of years now in prison, she says that she was taking her father's pills and a number of other things, and that she was addicted to PCP, and slowly this drug habit grew out of somewhere. It's difficult to clue down how or where this began. It's also difficult to actually prove because toxicology reports showed that she was clean as a whistle. And of course, the only drug that was unable to be tested in 1979 just so happens to be the only drug she claimed she was on, which was PCP. Mm-hmm. So it's difficult to kind of understand her mindset at the time, and she still says she has little memory of it. One morning she wakes up, boom, she starts firing. It's crazy.
Let me ask you here, Leigh, you talk about Brant and the friendship between Brenda and Brant. And it seems to me, that you ask yourself, because there's generally an instigator and a follower in every dynamic between friends. And it's hard to tell in the friendship between Brenda and Brant who's the instigator and who's the follower, because there's times where it seems like Brenda's the one who says, all right, I'm the leader here and I'm the one who's going to instigate the trouble. And there's other times it seems like maybe Brant's kind of picking at Brenda to get her to cause trouble. I hear you. Yeah. Who do you think was
on there? Sorry to cut you off, because you've hit a really good point here.
Yeah, go ahead.
During the interview with Brant, and I don't know if we want to go into actually what happens, because it is relevant, but Brant, in his interview with the police the same day, they said, how do you feel about Brenda shooting the school? And he says, and mind you, this is now a 14-year-old, he says, mm-hmm. I was happy because she did what she said she was going to do. It's a remarkable statement. Brant, moving away from him now, he ends up not really achieving. This poor young man did later on go into drugs and struggle through his whole life, mm-hmm. eventually finally getting a really decent full-time job and joining a union. He ends up dying in a single-car collision early in the morning on his way to work and passes away. I believe he was 30 or 31. So poor Brant never really did achieve anything in his life. And it's quite a shame. And certainly Brenda would have that effect on him. But there's no denying the fact that Brant was a key influencer into Brendan's decision-making that morning.
Which, I mean, there's no great athlete without somebody behind them cheering him on, right? I mean, there's no great singer or band out there without a great audience. There's got to be someone fueling the fire. There's got to be something in there, right?
You say that, but I would also say that in the world of school shooting, making analogies to sports or music figures is a false economy. They act alone in the vast majority of times, and there's no mistaking the fact that Brenda Spencer was alone at the time that she concocted this plan and she pulled the trigger. Was she trying to impress somebody? Probably. Yeah.
But the delusion was there. Even, I mean, absolutely. Again, without going too far into things here, and Leigh, the delusion, I think, on Brenda's part was always that there was going to be some notoriety, I think, at the end of this thing, wasn't there?
The jury's out on that for me, to be honest. I don't know. Let me cut into the actual story of what happens. And
sure,
how
go ahead. Let's go down that road.
There's a bit of both, and this is the part that I think makes this so remarkable. So we're going back to January 29th, 1979. We've talked about the time. It was a winter morning for San Diego, which for guys like yourself who are out in the Twin Cities, winter in San Diego is a bit like your
fall,
maybe June. Yeah. So it's cold for California, but it's not cold for the rest of the country. Mm-hmm. You know, it's maybe a tiny bit of frost on the floor, if nothing. Kids are just scurrying to school. Brenda's house is directly across the street of a 1950s build single-story elementary school. So all the kids were going in to the main sort of walkway, which is not an indoor. It's all sort of an outdoor open campus, just to kind of explain how it looks. Mm-hmm. From Brenda's front door, she had those small little they were sort of diamond-shaped, I dropped my microphone, diamond-shaped pieces of glass. She broke out 2 of them in the bottom right and left corner. And this is important because she put her trusty pellet gun that she'd had for 5 years in one of the window slots. And she put her brand new .22 Ruger in the other. And I think this is key. For somebody within their right mind, or with the mind that was intending to kill, why would she put up her pellet gun? She's not going to kill anybody with the pellet gun. And I think there was a side of her mind that thought she might not kill anybody with her .22. I'm not sure what this means, but it certainly within other school shooters or other mass shooters, that's very, very unique. So she gets up in the morning, like any normal morning, busts these holes in the door, in the windows. Kids are making their way into campus, and she just starts shooting. Pop, pop. Tiny .22 bullets are being shot across the street. We're talking distance of about 150 to 160 feet across the street, hitting kids as some were just rounding the corner into the school, walking. Some were getting out of cars and walking across the front car park. And she just started shooting the kids, and they were sort of landing, and the kids were hitting the ground. And most of the kids were just sort of thinking, oh, kids are just playing. They're just joking around. You know, this is just before school time.
Yeah.
They don't know where it's coming from. They can't understand it at all. So the principal and everybody sort of comes around and looks for the kids and tries to bring them in to help out. The principal is hit. The custodian who runs out to help the principal is shot. Now, the adults were shot 2 in the chest each. Boom, boom. Right in the middle of the chest, where the children were all shot in different parts of the body. It does appear like it's intent. In the house where Brenda's shooting from, my father, who was the assistant editor for the city pages of the Tribune at the time, the San Diego Evening Tribune, hears that there's a shooting on the police scanner and gets one of his reporters to say, my dad runs over and drops this phone book on the table and says, start making phone calls. There's a shooter. This doesn't happen in San Diego that often.
Right.
Of course, it does happen now all the time. But in 1979, this was rare. They call over to the house. The phone rings. Brenda stops shooting, puts down her gun, and answers the phone. And the reporter, Steve Wiegand, says, hey, thanks for answering. I hear there's someone shooting around your neighborhood. Have you seen anything? And she says, yeah, I've seen the whole thing. It was me. And she hangs up, says, I got to go fire some more. He calls back. Over the course of 20 minutes, while she's firing across the road and the police are setting up a perimeter, all this stuff is ongoing. She answers the phone again, and he says, look, why are you doing this? And she says, I don't know. I just don't like Mondays. This livens up the day. Sorry, I got to go shoot some more. And she hangs up the phone. And it's the most remarkable moment where, of course, this is a political writer who's just been given the telephone. He calls up, she answers. She delivers this line where he just thought was, this is not real. This cannot be happening. But it was. They called back. She answered again. There was a 20-minute conversation where she chats away about her father. She tells all kinds of, she essentially admits to the entire crime. The police then call the newspaper and say, hey, knock it off. Get off the phone. We're trying to get a hold of this suspect. There's a heroic police officer who drives a huge garbage truck in front of the school to block the people being shot. And by that point, a policeman named Officer Rob, had already come out to help the principal. He takes a bullet to the neck, but survives. And even actually with a bullet in his neck, he ends up taking the principal and the custodian away to safety. Both pass away, sadly, both heroes. The police lock down the perimeter. Brenda never fires another shot after speaking to the news reporters on the phone. And she holds herself up in her house for 6 hours while they slowly make their way towards the house, and the great negotiation from the interrogators and the other people who were on the phone with her. It was a wonderful effort from the San Diego police all the way across the board. Snipers in position. You can imagine the origins of SWAT and the helicopters above and the news media. This is 1979. This is not a slick thing that happens here in the 2000s.
Right.
This is kind of everybody, all hands on deck. What's most interesting is that once she's surrounded by the police, she still has all her weapons, 600 shot still into fire. She has plenty of targets to hit, plenty of windows of the house. There are onlookers. There are kids getting far too close to the house. The police are unable to support the perimeter, but she doesn't fire or hit anyone else. She was done for whatever it was. Police officially say she fired 36 bullets and hit 22. Clearly, she shot far more than that, but her actual hit rate was pretty staggering for somebody. When they finally get on the phone, they realize it's a girl. It hits national news. It goes all over all the radios. And this is where Bob Geldof comes in. Now, Bob Geldof, we know from Live Aid and from Boomtown Rats, and those who are fans of that music like I was would know who he is. And he hears it on the news, given many stories. Getting into this now, we might get into this a little bit later, because he's told 4 or 5 different stories as to where he was that day when this happened. But the end result is he writes a song that goes number 1 in multiple European countries, and I think was a top 3 in Canada, but never even graced the charts in the United States. He decides to write this song and then perform it for the first time in San Diego a month later, which angered the people in San Diego, but adds to this amazing story that supports the shooting and almost fundamentally glorifies it. I don't think Bob Geldof really clocked what he was doing other than trying to get rich. I'm a bit harsh on Bob in the book, just because of how things have played out since. I don't think he really realized that his keen ambition to be famous in America and be very, very wealthy would have such an enormous effect on so many young people, including me. I was 10 years old at the time, hearing a song about a school shooting that's being glorified. And I thought it was cool. I was 10. I didn't know. It wasn't until I got a bit older, and then knowing my father's story as the editor and meeting all the reporters and meeting some of the police officers, and then speaking to Brenda herself. And I had to ask her, the first question I asked her was, in the 90s, Bob Geldof said that you wrote to him and said that you thanked him because his song made you famous. And Bob Geldof said, that's a hard thing for me to live with because I made you famous. I said, did you write to Bob Geldof? And she said, no, I've never written to Bob Geldof. He's a liar. So here we now have Bob Geldof claiming that, I've written this song to highlight the atrocity. And she wrote to me and I made her famous and I have to live with all this now. When actually, I think that's all Bob Geldof's doing. I don't think Brenda ever communicated with him. I'm not going to say that a murderer in prison is more honest than a pop star, but I certainly know that their motive for wanting to lie, Brenda has no reason to lie at this stage, whereas Bob Geldof, to maintain his lie, is actually far greater. Correct me if I'm wrong, Tim. I see your face.
Okay, yeah, because I have there's certain things about this book that bother me, and Lee, and this is one of them. This along with some other things make me question her character, and maybe not her character. Maybe it has something to do with an illness. Okay. And I'll tell you why. It's that incident with Bob Geldof. The other thing is now you can question Bob Geldof and whether he's lying or not. But when a police officer tells you the day of the shooting, when she was hungry for lunch, and she's requesting a Burger King Whopper, okay, and she says, "Why would I do that? I had Kentucky Fried Chicken in the refrigerator, right?" Yeah. And, I could just go to the refrigerator and eat. Why would I keep asking for a Burger King Whopper? And the negotiator says, no, she was specific about that. And we kept talking about that throughout the day. And she insists that he's lying. Now, I'll tell you this much. We also do a paranormal show here on and one of the sources that we would trust above all, and I'm sure you know this too, coming from a journalism background, is although you might question a little bit coming from a source like a police officer, you're trained to want to believe a police officer because they're trained to be objective in a situation, especially in a stressful situation. They're trained to be calm, collected, see everything around them, and gather that information. So why would this guy lie about her wanting a Burger King Whopper?
I'm not suggesting that Paul Olson, or as they call him, Ole, is his nickname. He's the sort of negotiator for the San Diego PD. Mm-hmm. I'm not suggesting that he's lying at all. The reason why that's in the book, and I really harped in on that, is because Brenda was very, very certain with me that she had no memory of the event. But for some reason, it was very, very clear that she didn't want the Whopper. And this is during the event. Exactly. I know. It sort of makes you go, hold on a second. What is the truth? What isn't the truth? And I totally agree with you. Look, I'm not saying to you that everything Brenda's going to tell me is the truth. And I'm not expecting you to understand, to believe that. And I think my book tells that tale that This is what Brenda says. And I take no side on that issue.
Well,
but Bob Gill. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I bring this up and I bring that up because there's something towards the end of our conversation that I also want to bring up too. And I think I know what you're doing by bringing up these instances. And there's something at the end of the book you bring up, which I think is the closer with all this. And it has to do with her motive as to why she did all this.
Okay. And do you want to go into that? Or, I mean, there's so much to this story. Well, you think it's just a girl with a gun, but as you know, you've read the book.
Right.
There's a lot to this.
I think I want to take a break, but
okay.
I understand where you're going with it, but I want you to finish your statement as far as the Whopper and Bob Geldof and everything, where you were going with that.
In the book, Brenda routinely says to me, I don't remember what happened that day. I don't remember being on the telephone. I certainly didn't say I don't like Monday. She said loads of, I don't remember if I said it or not. So I'm going to say that I didn't say it or I don't remember. But she does remember certain key elements. And I'm working on her to try and get her to remember that moment. And I could never get her to remember it. But Bob Geldof tells a number of different stories as to where he was. In the book, there are 4 different stories where he says he was. In one instance, in the song, he says the teletext machine types so clean, it types to a waging world. And he claims that he was in Atlanta at a tiny college station. So I called up the college station. I had a friend who used to go to that university. And I said, did you ever have a telex machine in the 1970s? He goes, we were lucky to have microphones in the 1970s. Yeah. So, and I understand artistic interpretation. And I'm totally fine with that, Bob Gelf's world.
Right.
He's a songwriter. He's an artist. I get that. But for him to go into an interview unpoked, unpressed, to say that she contacted me, he's never been able to prove that information. I've written to them. I've asked for that information. I've asked for the evidence. I've asked for the proof. It would have been a handwritten letter from Brenda, which Brenda didn't send, or she claims she didn't send. And on balance of information and balance of evidence, in this case, maybe not all the cases, and I accept what you're saying, Tim, but in this case, I tend to believe Brenda over Bob Geldof. And that sounds a remarkable statement, but in this case, I believe it.
Well, no, I get you about the telex machine because, I mean, having worked college radio myself,
yes, you know what I mean.
In the late 80s, I mean, even in the late 80s, early 90s, we had an AP printer, and that AP printer was not the best, and it was hooked up to a very crude printer line. So, I mean, and that was, to us, that was high technology. So,
I accept artistic impression. I accept it. But to maintain this lie, when the stakes are so high, you're glorifying a school shooter, something that we know now is detrimental. It's just that it was I don't know. What I'm saying is maybe Bob Geldof could just say, sorry, I got that wrong. Apologies.
Right.
Yeah. I'm not going to say apologies for the song. Certainly he has the right to write whatever he wants. Right. Yeah. But it's the other stuff. Anyway, I've gone off piece to bit. This is about Brenda Spencer, not about Bob Geldof. No, but it's relative because it made her so famous and school shootings personified.
Yeah, you're right. And in this day and age, if an artist were to do that, if they were to glorify a school shooting, they'd be massacred by the public. I mean, it just wouldn't it wouldn't stand.
So I think Bob got him massacred by the San Diego press. He was certainly, but that's a very small little, that's a small region of the United States. Mm-hmm. But certainly people in Southern California. I think the song was played on one radio station locally when it came out.
What did he try to claim the song was about? I'm trying to remember. It was...
As far as I know, he's always claimed it was about Brenda Spencer.
Did he?
Yeah.
I could have swore he said in the book he tried to claim it was about something else at one time, that it wasn't about the shooting. That he.
I'll trust you on that. I've only ever heard him refer to it as the shooting in San Diego, and of course, when he took to the stage in San Diego and at the Whiskey A Go Go a month after, mm-hmm. He did a 30-second diatribe about how Brenda was an idiot. She shot up the school, and now listen to my words of the song. Look. Bob Geldof is not like any other pop singer. He wants to be famous. He wants to make a load of money. Yeah. And, Irish people and British singers come over from, over the pond, if you will, and loads of them hit big. Bob just didn't. And to be honest with you, Bob wasn't that good. There's not a whole lot of Boomtown Rats song you can name other than this one. So maybe he was right. Maybe that's what he needed to do to be famous. And sadly, we buy, cash from chaos, as they used to call it back in the day. Maybe he's right and we're wrong. I don't know. But the evidence of what happened and what transpired with that song is all in the book with Brenda.
Well, I think history's on your side here, my friend. I think.
Yeah, luckily.
That and the Billboard charts, I think, are on your side as well when it comes to the Boomtown Rats. Let's take our break here. When we come back, let's talk a little bit further about Brenda Spencer and what exactly happened to her after the shooting, what she went through when it came to court proceedings, because the court proceedings were quite entangled and involved. There was a little bit of controversy as far as Brenda was concerned as to how she was treated in court and whether she got fair proceedings there or not. And an interesting development as to Brenda in current day. We'll talk about that when we come back as well. The name of the book is I Don't Like Mondays. The true story behind America's first modern school shooting, and Leigh Hunt is our guest. And we'll talk a little bit more about Brenda Spencer and the very first. Welcome back to the best in true crime podcasting. This is True Crime Tuesday. I'm Tim Dennis. We are talking about the first school shooting in America. I'll consider it that. You can argue with me by emailing me at tim@darknessradio.com. The book is called I Don't Like Mondays, the true story behind America's first modern school shooting. And Leigh Hunt is our guest. Before the break, and Leigh, I was talking a little bit about the process now as we'll move ahead a little bit to after the actual shooting itself. Actually, you know what? I got a couple of clips here that I want to play that you sent along because they bear a little bit of weight before we get to the court proceedings, because the court proceedings in themselves are very interesting. Brenda changes character quite a bit. And I mean that both literally and metaphorically, from the time that she is arrested to even now to modern day. And there's, again, the little bit of semantics between I said that, I didn't say that is where we're going towards the end of this program, and something that I want to talk to you about here. There's a couple of clips here that I want to play. I want you to introduce the first one. The first one has to do with, I believe it's a dispatch call.
The police dispatch. Yeah. So in my research for the book, and we're going back to the 1970s, there was no recorded dispatches by the police. Mm-hmm. This recording, when I started doing my research and I went out and hit the streets in San Diego and started talking to everybody I used to know and all the people, there was an ex-fire dispatcher who, as a 13-year-old, was a keen police scanner listener. And he lived near the area in Lake Murray. And when he heard there was a police shooting, he put a 60-minute old cassette tape into his tape deck and record the police scanner. So I've got an hour of the actual police dispatch, the taping of it. Never been heard before. The first time any of this information is released, it's in the book. And here's a clip from it. And it's essentially the moment that the dispatcher is told that who the shooter is, where they are, and what the police needs to do. It's an interesting little clip. It's very short. And the full transcripts of this are in the book.
All right, let's play that now.
I'm repeating this information. Okay, the father of the suspect, known only right now as Brenda, is en route to the command post. He advises she's got 500 to 600 rounds of ammo inside the house.
Yeah, it's a simple clip, but it carries on. The dispatcher doesn't know how to deal with the situation in its entirety, and they end up using a number of different radio frequencies to get all the police. There was one police station in San Diego back then. They all came from the same place. Not like it is today where San Diego is a city of millions. They all came from downtown, and they were all en route. It's quite remarkable that they were able to keep the casualty list so low, to be honest.
And see,
they're true heroes. True heroes. I've got to say this.
Oh, yeah.
Having worked with the San Diego PD, absolute heroes. Unreal.
Absolutely. What's crazy is as I read this book, and Leigh, I remember these times. I was the same age as the kids who were being shot at this time. So, I was probably, I was about 9 years old at the time of this book. And I remember when there was an emergency in the area where I lived, you didn't call 911. You had to call the county sheriff, and then they had to try and figure out who would be dispatched to you, or you had to call the fire department, and they would try to figure out, where you were, and you had to give them the address, and it was a mess. And that's
exactly right.
Yeah.
In San Diego at this time, you dialed 0 and got the operator.
Yes,
which was the same person you dialed to get someone's phone number.
Yeah, that
person would then link you in with someone. Also, San Diego didn't have paramedics. The police were the paramedics.
Yeah.
So you put it in perspective.
Yep.
This is not like it is today. We consider ourselves lucky, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. Yes, very much so. And to think that the police were pulling double duty. They were EMTs and they were police as well, which amazing, And speaking of, was it Robert Robb was the name of the officer?
Rob.
Yeah. Oh, my God. In this, and let's tell the story of him here. Okay, so we have to, in order to get the full perspective of what he's dealing with him here, not only is he coming in an ambulance, what made for an ambulance at the time, which I believe was just a glorified station wagon, wasn't it?
It was kind of like a white police van. Okay. If you imagine the 1970s, not as cool as the A-Team, right. But not as frumpy as something from the 50s. A white van with windows.
Okay.
If you can picture. So he shows up to the back of the school. Brenda's shooting the front of the school. He just goes running with his gurney and his partner. They just go running to the front of the school. Not a care in the world. Now, they just walk right into the gunfire. And
now we think of bulletproof vests, and we think of something that covers pretty much everything from the neck. You've got pretty good protection. I mean, the neck is a little bit exposed, but your clavicle's covered, your torso's covered, all the way down to the belt line. I mean, you're pretty much protected, and you can take a shot, right?
Well, you're talking about modern day.
Modern day, yes.
You're talking about Kevlar,
right?
Okay,
that's a Kevlar vest. I want you to tell people what Officer Robb was wearing.
Well, they were these white little sort of. They were kind of a Velcro pinny that kind of covered kind of just below your, I suppose it's your collarbone, just kind of over to your navel. To say vest is an even loose term. To say bulletproof is even a looser term. I would argue to say that the best catcher in Major League Baseball at the time, Johnny Bench, was better protected sitting behind home plate than Rob was running into gunfire. Yeah, as I say, and it might be, I don't know, it might be that Brenda saw that he was wearing a bulletproof vest, and that's why he took a bullet to his neck. I know we have another clip from Rob. I don't know if that's a
yes,
good
we do.
Time to play it.
Yep. And
what's interesting about this clip is I got the opportunity to speak with him before he passed. He was an absolute hero. He never fully recovered from the bullet he took in the neck. He explains where it went into his body and what happened. He became an avid Harley-Davidson rider and did a number of different vlogs and videos and telling stories. He was just an interesting guy to the day that he passed. He'll be completely missed. And he just tells this story, and it's sort of the honesty of him. And he almost speaks in like a Clint Eastwood manner. And there's something kind of really cool about Rob. Anyway, I don't know if you could play the clip.
Yep, here it is.
But in actuality, the bullet had gone into my neck, nicked my carotid artery, bounced off my shoulder blade, and lodged against my 5th thoracic vertebrae. Well, it took me a few seconds, but I shook it off. I went back to work, trying to patch people up, while she continued to shoot at me. Luckily, I didn't get hit a second time.
Yeah, a little bravado there from Rob. But
luckily,
you know
I didn't get hit a second time.
You know what? It's so worthwhile, and he was a real hero. And he didn't just go out with his gurney and direct attention to himself, other than children who were hiding in the bushes and around the car park. He picked up students and the principal and the custodian, got them onto the gurney, and rushed them out of harm's way. Quite remarkable. He never really. And there's a huge lawsuit that happens with the city, and there's lots of stuff that happens with, he isn't treated incredibly well by the city after this. And there's a lot of stuff that sort of happens, and his lawyer who represents him and all this stuff. It's all in the book, but it's quite interesting as to how these absolute heroes at the moment when you need them to perform at 100%. But then once the event's over, they're just put back to the normal workforce like everyone else and kind of forgotten. And poor Rob is a little bit forgotten. And I think maybe if part of this book can bring him back into the light of being a hero that he is, I think that'll be worth something. I know that his daughter, who's still tries to keep his name alive, hopefully she will like what I've written about her father, because her father's an absolute hero. So I hope she likes it.
Well, and Leigh, I don't know. You might have mentioned this, and it might have skipped my brain. But the two things that impressed me the most is as and you mentioned that the bullet nicked his carotid artery, yet he's still working at this point. He's still doing all the things that you're mentioning, correct?
He gets hit, but he claims, and he claims the adrenaline. It hit him, and he thought like he'd been knocked down. He just got up and started running off with the gurney, and then slowly realized, hold on, I'm losing blood. I'm falling down.
Yeah.
But he made it to the van, and they threw him in the van with the others. And when they got to the hospital, he was back up again, I guess, second winding, and then managed to get the gurneys into the hospital before he collapsed.
Yeah. So this bullet nicks the carotid artery. It goes, I think you said it bounced off the collarbone, goes in near his spine. So, and it's there permanently.
It does come out many years later, but it's with him. He stays as serving San Diego PD on the PD force until the bullet comes out, and then he's almost forced in retirement. Yeah,
and so he's running around saving other people, and as he's got the gurney, there's one point in the book where he's holding up the gurney and his arm gives out, and somebody catches the gurney. And he's screaming in immense pain. Now imagine this, you're bleeding out, your arm gives out because there's a bullet in your spine, and your arm just doesn't want to work anymore, and you're still trying to hold up the gurney even though you're screaming in immense pain. And
what's interesting about this is, I want, not that I want to disprove people, but I asked many people who were on the scene that day what they saw. And all of their reports were, I saw 2 cops run in, pick up people, and run out. And get in the ambulance and disappear. None of them mentioned him falling. None of them mentioned some huge scream or yell. So whatever happened, and he certainly did have a bullet lodged in his back. So whatever happened along that route, you just got to give credit to where it's due. Rob is a hero.
Yeah.
It's just simple as that.
Yeah.
And maybe he was so full of adrenaline he didn't clock it. And again, I know the 22 is not a massive bullet, but I tell you what, I take a bullet to the neck, I'm going down. I guarantee it.
Oh,
There's no way I could have done what he did.
No
way.
No. I mean, a lot of people go down with a paper cut. I mean, that's
for sure.
It's just the way it is. It's just the way it is. So I wanted to heap praise on Officer Rob, because that in itself is just amazing. We'll switch gears here, Leigh. I want to talk about what happens here after. As Brenda's being apprehended, because I don't want to skip this part. This is the part where I'm confused, because when we talk about apprehending somebody in school shooters these days, half the time you hear about apprehending a school shooter, it generally doesn't end well. Generally, it ends with the school shooter being shot or killed. The other half of the time, if they're apprehended, and they are alive, there's not a lot that's said. or they tend to be quiet, or there's a manifesto that's put online and the manifesto is confusing. There's some sort of psychotic break.
I agree, but let's journey back to 1970 again, 1979 once again. This is the time of Patty Hearst. This is the time of the Manson family. This is a different time, and this is the first time it's happened. This is before the expression "suicide by cop," which tends to be the default position for a lot of school shooters today, where they go in with the intent of shooting as many as they can, either taking their own life or being shot by the police in a hail of bullets as some sort of bizarre hero. Brenda did claim that she shot the students because she wasn't brave enough to kill herself. This is something that's kind of come up a few times. I couldn't get her to kind of admit to any of this or discuss it that way. She did say that she shot because she didn't want to live, and it's a misplaced anger. I mean, that I get out of her. She is essentially talked out of the house because she may have gotten in trouble with her father. She was worried about what her father would think of what she did. It's quite bizarre, especially leading into what happens next with her father and information that comes out years later about her upbringing and her closeness with her father, a possible motive. I think there is a lot of unknowns here. And when you say I'm a bit confused by it, you know what? I've written this book. I'm still confused by it. Well, so how and why?
Now, keep in mind, this is what's so confusing about it. In procedures today, and keep in mind, the SWAT team was kind of put together as best as it could be by the San Diego Police Department.
Part-timers. Part-timers at best.
Right, they're part-timers at best. So they tell her, and she says she doesn't want to throw her guns out onto the lawn because she takes good care of them. She wouldn't do that. She wouldn't mark up her baby, so to speak. Mm-hmm. So they said, okay, well, you can come out, you can put your guns out on the lawn carefully. Then we want you to go back into the house, go get all the ammunition that you have, and bring it back out onto the lawn. Yeah. What police department in this godforsaken world is going to let you go back into the house to go get something and bring it back out? There's no one in this world that would let you make 2 trips into the house. The minute you come out, you're face down on the pavement with guns to your head.
Yeah, I can only guess that they didn't know if she was alone or that she had other weapons. I don't know. I've never seen that either. I'm only going to chalk it up to this is the first time it's happened, and that's just the local rule that they have for this type of apprehension. Hey, let's give credit where it's due. She did come out with the 2 weapons. Mm-hmm. She did set them down gently. She did go back into the house, and she did come out with all her bullets. So maybe they knew who they were dealing with. I don't know, Tim. I don't know. That's going to be one of the, look, it worked out for the best, so let's not look back too far.
True.
Let's not use 2020 on it. But
true.
That could have gone a whole different direction.
It could have, because in conventional thinking, okay, I go and I set down my 2 weapons, I go back into the house, and maybe I come back and I pull out a rocket launcher. I mean, you don't know what else is in the house. You know,
I mean, I guess they have it on strong authority from the father that there was nothing else in the house. I just don't know. Brenda, of course, still maintains, I don't remember the conversation that brought me out of the house. And Ole Olsen, the negotiator, wasn't really giving me the full details as to how he got her out of the house. Look, either way, mm-hmm. She came out. Nobody else was hurt. And everybody did their job. So, look, I'm not going to dig too deep on that one. There's bigger fish to fry in this book. There's bigger stuff to tackle than how the cops got her out of the house.
True. Now, earlier in the program, I mentioned to you that everybody needs an audience in order to perform, I guess. The one reason I said I think she did this for a little bit of notoriety is in the book you mentioned that they cut the electricity to the house. Yeah. And as she's talking to Ole Olsen, the negotiator, she says, really, you cut the power to the house? She wanted to watch cartoons. And she said, well, at 3:00, I think it was like, I don't remember if it was Bugs Bunny or whatever it was on TV, and she wanted to watch TV. And they did this specifically so she couldn't watch the media coverage. But then she could see that people were gathering and there was a news truck out there, and she thought that was kind of cool. Yeah. Well, now it's playing to her ego.
I think you're right. And actually, when she speaks to the reporter on the telephone from the newspaper, she says, "Am I going to be in the newspaper?" So clearly no, you're right. There is an element of, hold on a second, I've done something bigger than I expected. But she had told her friend Brent Fleming the week before that I'll do something big to get in the news.
Yeah.
I just don't, the part for me is I just not 100% sure that she realized that she killed people. That's the part that gets me. I'm certain that she knew she was going to hurt people. I'm certain that she knew what she was doing.
Oh yeah.
But I don't think that she really clocked that she could kill somebody. And I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt. Let me be clear with you. I'm not suggesting that she shouldn't have been convicted. I'm just saying that given all the evidence, bringing the pellet gun to the window, being a bit naive about a number of different things, I'm just not sure if she was completely aware of how much death she was going to cause that day. And how much heartache to a lot of people she was going to cause.
Well, I'm sure it was the thrill of seeing it happen was the immediate response. She was looking for the immediate stimuli, and then it was the consequences.
I think you're probably right. Yes. And maybe when she realized, maybe when, Olson told them, you've killed people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe that's why she stopped shooting. Maybe it's when the reporters told her that on the phone as well. I don't know. I just don't know. The book is putting the true facts together for you to make your own decisions. And I think everyone who reads this will probably come up with their own decision. And I'm trying to put it as factually as possible with the direct quotes, the direct time. There is a few things that were going into the trial that come out, which are misreported. If I can segue into that. Sure. Is that become quite important, because if you go onto a lot of internet sites, or Wikipedia, for example, is a great one. They quote newspapers from Milwaukee and New Jersey telling you all about Brenda Spencer. Newspapers that are 3,000 miles away. One which says that she slept on the living room floor with her father and the house was covered in alcohol. Well, in the book, I've got pictures of the living room. And I've got pictures of the father's bedroom. And certainly there is no mattress on the floor in the lounge, and each of them have their own bedrooms, and there's no alcohol anywhere. So I think there was at the time, it makes us feel better when we create these, it must have been alcohol, it must have been some sort of incest in the family. Now, at trial, the epilepsy issue comes up. She does suffer from a form of epilepsy, which could affect her ability to maintain. Very unlikely that it would cause her to shoot, but there's a possibility. And this is the 1970s California law. Keep in mind that in San Francisco, a few years before, Harvey Milk was gunned down, and the man who shot him claimed that he ate too many Twinkies and was trying to get off with the sugar defense. Patty Hearst had just gotten off, where she claimed the whole Stockholm syndrome. So I think Brenda was with her lawyer, and it was a court-appointed lawyer. It wasn't not some highfalutin lawyer coming in. I think she was just searching, looking for the one that landed. What's going to be my defense? This is 1979. I mean, hopefully we can get out. We can do this in the 70s before the 80s come along and cool us all down. There's this hint that the father was leading her through the whole thing. And as she was changing her plea from, reason of insanity to not guilty to eventually guilty, and then accepting the guilty plea, and then going into sentencing, something remarkable happens that changes this story forever. Now, her father kept visiting her in juvenile hall while she was there, because, again, she was only 16. By this point, she's sort of just turning 17. The father's visiting her 3 times a week, and he strikes up an unlikely friendship with her cellmate in juvenile hall. Now, this is a girl who's 16, who's the cellmate of Brenda Spencer. Looks a lot like Brenda Spencer. She was there for arson. Her name was Sheila McCoy. Brenda's father, who's now 50, starts a relationship with a 16-year-old girl, assists her in escaping an open facility by the end of that year. Sheila McCoy, this underage girl, is pregnant by the January the following year. He drives her to Arizona with her mother to have a shotgun wedding, because you can't get married under 18 in California, but you can in Arizona. Luckily, we can just shoot over to the state next door. He then comes back home with her. She's spotted walking around the neighborhood because she's living there as the wife of Wally Spencer, stepmom of Brenda Spencer, ex-cellmate of Brenda Spencer. One of the neighbors calls the cops and says, "Hey, Brenda, you let that crazy girl out of jail? Are you kidding me?" The cops then go to the house, speak to Sheila McCoy and Wally Spencer to find out that, no, it's not Brenda. She hasn't gotten out. It's just a girl who looks an awful lot like her, who's about the same age, who's now married her father. So the whole town starts to go, oh, uh-oh. This is really creepy. Years later, 1991, Brenda then suddenly announces, I was molested as a child. My father had done all these horrible things to me. You know, we're talking sodomy and rape and all absolute horrific things that he did to her. The parole board doesn't believe her because why did you wait so long?
Yeah.
I'm not a person who's going to say that anyone is lying about such a serious accusation. There's little evidence to support it other than the fact that her father married a girl who looked exactly like his daughter while his daughter was in prison for murder. I don't know if we need a lot of factual evidence, but the circumstantial evidence certainly is there.
That's huge.
And Brenda changes her plea during the sentencing phase from life in prison, which would have meant they would have had a hearing of some kind, which could have dug deeper into her family life. But her father said, no, take the instant plea, take the 25 to life. We don't want anybody getting involved in our family. Brenda changes her plea to 25 for life. There's no intrusive hearing. She's now serving 25 years to life. So if she had a life sentence, she could very well be out of parole. But because she has 25 to life, she has 25 mandatory, and now she's subjected to the parole process. The prison is now determining whether she gets out, not the courts determining whether she gets out. So Brenda may spend the rest of her life in prison to protect her father from not being caught with an underage girl who, it's a very twisted part of the story, but it does add to the motive. And on balance, putting it all together, when you're done with the book, you might, even though Brenda is a murderer and going to spend the rest of her life in prison, possibly, she may not be the weirdest person connected to this case. I know that sounds a stunning statement, but there's a number of other things that happen. Right. People surrounding the San Diego PD. Betty Broderick is connected to this, who famously shot her lawyer husband, who represented. There's the case. All the victims sue Wally Spencer's home insurance because she shot from the house, and it was a way for them to make money, not taking anything away from them. They actually were awarded very little. Right. But there's loads of things that happen. Brenda goes to prison. I'm rambling, but she becomes best friends with who a lot of people consider to be her idol. She makes best friends with the Manson sisters. She lives across the hall from them. To this day, she's great friends with them. They're helping her with her parole hearings. Yeah. It's the most remarkable thing. Some of the most infamous women in California history are all absolute best friends in the California Institute for Women in Chino. It's a remarkable story. I think Brenda's feared in prison. She's changed her life like everyone does over a long course of time. She learns to fix car batteries. She does a forklift. She did some sewing. She played on the softball team. She sang in the harmony group. She did all these things. She was able to grow things out her back door of her cell. She grew corn out of popping corn from the microwave bag. She just did all these things whilst in prison, and it makes her seem incredibly normal, even though she's never ever going to be normal. Again, I've become friendly with her. Maybe I'm not subjective anymore. Yeah. At this stage, her parole hearing is coming up on the 18th of August, and she may very well be released. I probably don't think so, but it's possible. I've got the pleasure of attending to see what happens. My thinking this whole thing is that, she's 60. She has no teeth. She's horribly diabetic. She's obese. She's no threat to anybody anymore. If we're keeping her in prison for retribution, fine, leave her there. But if we're keeping her in prison for rehabilitation, she's rehabilitated. She's of no threat. That's just my personal opinion. And that's what I come to with my own conclusion in the book. But read it yourself come up with your own. I'd be interested to know what you think, Tim. I'm too close to it to maybe really have a great opinion, but I certainly know all the information.
I think they're keeping her there over semantics. There's one thing they want to hear from her, and she just hasn't found the one thing that they want to hear from her. And it's unfortunate. It's like a locksmith sitting in front of a lock, and the parole board is the lock, and it's just her having to find the combination. And when she hits the combination, she can go.
And I think after this parole hearing, if she doesn't get out, I'm going to, speak to her again. I'm going to say, Brenda, it's time to come clean. You've tried everything else. You've had 6 chances at parole and it hadn't happened for you. Just come clean. Why'd you do it?
Yeah.
She has said she has apologized to the victims. She has said, look, I'm really sorry for what I've done. They didn't deserve that. But I think there's just more for her to tell. And she may never get out. And let's be honest, there's also a side of me that thinks maybe she doesn't want to get out. She often told me that, it's not so bad in prison. She jokingly, and maybe not jokingly, but it certainly felt like a story told in jest. When I lived with my dad, he used to kick me in the head every morning when I woke up. No one kicks me in the head when I wake up in prison. So I don't know. I don't know. She certainly is multifaceted, and exactly as I expected when I started engaging with her. I'm under no illusion of who I'm talking to.
When you're in prison and you're used to abuse and dysfunction, there's just dysfunction without the abuse.
Good quote. I'll write that down. I might use that. Thanks, Tim.
Yeah, you're welcome. But she, I honestly think I think she's almost afraid of double jeopardy. If she sits there and she tells the parole board, well, this is why I did it. Maybe she's afraid she's going to step in it and tell them something that can be used against her. Well,
yeah, sure. But you're 60 years old. You've been there your whole life. I mean, she said to me, this is what we're going to do to try and get out. I'm going to prepare for this. I want to get it right. I want to have my story straight before the parole hearing. She said this every single time before every parole hearing. She's not been let out. I think she may never be let out, but she certainly does see the parole hearings as some kind of a game where you prepare for it, but the truth doesn't play into it. And I think that's partly why she's still in prison. And I think she kind of needs to clock that.
Yeah.
And understand that you and I you were 9, I was 10 when this happened. Mm-hmm. And we're still having a whole bunch of school shootings in this country. And we have learned nothing from Brenda Spencer. 10 years after this event, this is something that's interesting in the book, 10 years to the week after this event at another elementary school called Cleveland Elementary, Purdy picks up a gun and shoots dozens of kids. And it was a direct copycat of this crime. She's gone to the infamy of America. I mean, Meg on Family Guy is modeled after her image, the glasses, the hat, the hair. She's become the American consciousness. This whole discussion that you have about how people who are red-haired have no souls, that whole joking thing came from Brenda Spencer. She was the original hated girl in America. Mm. We've learned nothing. We've learned nothing as a society from Brenda Spencer, and we really could. We really could learn a lot from it. And I don't know if this book's going to solve anything. I mean, I think I've just listed the facts. But certainly, as school shootings continue in this country, Brenda, come clean, girl. Tell us why you did it, and maybe help us stop it.
Yeah, I think we have two. Again, I'm not trying to pontificate or anything, and I'm not trying to draw emails to my email box, but I think it is more complex than it's just guns or it's just mental illness. I think it's more than that. I think it's more than just one side of the issue, and you've done a wonderful job, Leigh, here in this book by showing the profile of just one person in a time that's not this one, and the beginnings of this phenomenon and how it starts.
I went into this just wanting to capture the events and what happened and how they happened, because nobody really has. Mm-hmm. I knew this case since I was 10 years old. My father lived it. He was there on the phone with her at the time it was happening. Mm-hmm. When Wikipedia started many, many moons ago, I read the Wikipedia thing for Brenda Spencer, and I thought, well, that's not true. That's not true. How can they put this? Where's this misinformation coming from? And then I realized that nobody really written a book. There's a couple people who have dabbled in it, or people who have taken the information off Wikipedia in a couple LA Times articles and written some crudely fashioned sort of like missives. But no one's actually taken the facts of what happened and how many people have suffered from this crime and how many people have profited from this crime.
Yeah.
And I just thought, let's put it all into a page. It's not long. I don't waffle on with my opinion throughout it. I just list what was in the newspapers, what is fact, what's substantiated, and I get the people from each of the individual sections to give their opinions on it who were there at the time. You be the judge. You read it. And I think there is something to learn from it. Don't know where it sits in the annals of school shooting. Look, I'm just a guy who writes and researches, but I certainly think there's a lot we can learn from Brenda. And I really hope that she joins the party, because she still hasn't after all these years.
So I'm going to ask you this question here, Annalee, because here's how I see it as I sit and I read the book, and I think to myself, okay, we have all these questions, and everybody will sit and pontificate about how they would solve this problem. But I'm going to throw this question out to you. So here's Brenda Spencer, a lady who, as a child, her family failed her. Her parents failed her. Her siblings failed her. She was introduced to drugs. She was given a weapon, shown how to use it. Okay, which in some people's mind is a no-no. To me, it doesn't matter. Okay, but she was introduced to drugs. She was introduced to guns. She was given a terrible home life. She had mental issues. Okay. She was psychosis issues. And it's inferred here that there was abuse issues. So it's the perfect cauldron of everything she needs to, let's say everything that she needs to heal from. Okay. Everything that she needs to detox from, everything that she needs help from. And then on top of that, she's thrown into a rehabilitation system that's supposed to rehabilitate her, but really she's thrown into the drink, where there's programs there, but are they adequate? Okay. So in your mind, what do we do to help heal Brenda Spencer?
Tim, now that is an awfully bold question. To heal Brenda Spencer, I don't think we're ever going to heal Brenda Spencer. I don't have all the information about Brenda, and I've been communicating with her for years and years now. I don't have all the information, but I would say to you that her father's now passed away. Her brother has now passed away. She's all alone in this world. To heal Brenda Spencer, I don't think you're ever going to heal Brenda Spencer. I think Brenda Spencer is going to spend the rest of her life suffering for what she did, and I think she's going to suffer alone and quietly. Is she a threat to society? I don't think so. But is the suffering going to stop? No. That's the best way I can answer that one, if that makes sense. She's got her only trust in the world are her best friends, who happen to be the Manson sisters and a few other convicted felons. You can be the judge on what that means. I mean, if Patricia Krenwinkel can heal, Brenda Spencer can heal. If you know what I mean,
yeah,
you get where I'm going with this.
Yeah,
I don't think she'll ever heal. I think she's damaged, really damaged, and Brenda's my pen pal, and I would go as far as to say she's a friend, because we've become friendly. We've told jokes as we wrote to each other. But my feelings are far more towards the victims. All of the victims, the students that were shot that day, are my age, and they're still alive. And they've all gone on to do different things, and some successfully, some not successfully. My thoughts are with Officer Rob's family. He's now passed away, or with Mr. Mike, the custodian. My thoughts with the principal and their family. I mean, as much as I want to talk about Brenda here, And I do, and the book is about her, to learn from her. We've got to remember the victims, and maybe that's a way to end this. But, I think the only regret I have for my book is that I don't delve into the victims' lives too much, but I've done that intentionally because they've suffered enough. I haven't spoken to one of the victims, but Officer Rob, because he was a trained professional. I felt that he was qualified to communicate that way. I didn't get involved in their world. I didn't want to bring up any more hurt for them. They're forever going to click on the radio and hear this goddamn song that's making a show of their victimization. I just couldn't bring them into the story too much. And, for those, I'm going to say this as well, for those who say, hey, I'm glorifying Brenda with my book. Yeah, I am. And I'm sorry for that. I didn't mean to glorify Brenda. That's not my intent. My intent is to learn from her. And I think if you read the book, on balance, what I'm doing is cataloging the events and the facts for us to be educated on school shootings, not to glorify them. And, my little book is not going to be a #1 world bestseller. I'm under no illusion here. So I'm clearly not going to do as much damage as Sir Bob Geldof did. Sorry, a little dig at Bob. Sorry, Bob. But, this is about the victims. And I'm sorry to bring it back, Tim, and get all real on you. But, some kids were shot that day, and Brenda's a bad person. She does deserve to spend the rest of her life in jail, except for the fact that this is kind of different. And that's the only way I can kind of put it. Why it's different, I don't know. But just something doesn't sit right with me, and I don't have the words to express it.
Well, that's a great way to end it, Lee, except for I do have one more deal, and that's this. Throughout the book, you mentioned Cam Miller. Cam Miller was the one child who was shot by Brenda and was shot through the shoulder. And was really, really scarred by Brenda. He's shown up at every parole hearing and has insisted to the parole board at every single parole meeting that Brenda be locked up for the rest of her life, that she's a danger to society, that she'll never be rehabilitated, that she should stay there. Mm-hmm. In just a few days, as we tape this, I think you said it was the 17th that she has her parole hearing. It's
Thursday. Today we're taping. It says Thursday. Yeah.
Okay, so it's in a couple of days here. Cam Miller will probably be at that parole hearing, and I will
meet him for the first time.
Okay.
By video call.
So he'll be insisting that she stays there for the rest of her life. Do you think that it would be something as simple as the two of them locking eyes and just the words, "I forgive you"? Do you think that would be enough to heal Brenda?
No. But I think it would go a long way to her actively showing any remorse in front of the panel that's going to release her. I don't see Cam Miller doing that, first of all.
Okay.
Cam Miller's been very clear. He's never wavered. She's going to spend the rest of her life in jail. And he's now become a parole officer. And he has, I'm not saying he has insider trading about how this operates, but he certainly is the first one they email or they write to say that the parole hearing is coming up. But no, maybe if Brenda turned to Cam with absolute composure and honesty and came clean and looked him in the eye and said, "Cam, I'm so sorry for what I did that day, and here's why," Cam might change his tune. But I don't see Cam ever really changing his tune without Brenda doing that. And I certainly don't see Cam being in a position to heal Brenda. Other victims have come forward to say that she served her time and that, she's old enough, she's done enough, she can come out. Even the prosecutor who put her in jail said, "Let's see how she behaves after 25 or 30 years." Well, that was long past. Yeah. So even the prosecutor didn't see her staying in prison this long. So, not to turn the question back on you, but I just know is the answer to your question. But the other way around, if Brenda were to look Cam in the eye, I think that's her best shot of getting out. And, good on Cam as well, actually. Cam Miller is a victim, still had a bullet lodged in his body for a long time after this.
Yeah.
And he managed to sort of rally himself up and go and stand up for what he believes in and take a job that gives back to society in its own way. So fair play to Cam. I don't know him. I've never met him. I didn't contact him, as I say, because I think the victim suffered enough. And all of the quotes that I have from him in the book are quotes that he's made in the newspaper or actually all of it in the public domain. No, but I got a lot of respect for Cam, and if I get the opportunity to chat to him, I probably won't. It's a Zoom call, how they're doing it now with post-lockdown. Yeah. But if I did have the opportunity, and when my book comes out, I'm certain he's going to read it. And if he doesn't, I'll send him a copy and make sure he reads it. I'd love to one day have a chat with him and see what he thinks. And hopefully, I've given him and the other victims enough respect.
I hope you get that opportunity too. I would hope that Cam would be of a mind someday that he could practice forgiveness. That maybe he could say, you know what, there comes a time when you have to let something go because it'll eat you alive.
Well, yeah, it's true. But there's that old adage, you first.
That's true. That's true. She does. You're right. Brenda does have to come forward. She has to come clean, make amends. She has to, and supposedly for someone who's clean and sober, that's part of the program. You have to make amends. You have to come forward and tell people why you did what you did.
Yeah, I think Brenda sees every school shooting as her being one of the perpetrators because she started it all, and she sees it that way. And I don't think there's a writer or anyone who does a podcast who remembers it, who probably doesn't look at it the same way. Brenda was the first. She was the first face of school evil.
Yeah, very true.
We talk about Columbine. We talk about Sandy Hook. We talk about this atrocity that happened in Texas not too long ago. I mean, absolutely horrific stuff. And we often remember the names of the shooters. We've learned nothing from Brenda Spencer. We've learned nothing from her, and I wish we did. I don't know what else to say to that. I guess I keep saying I don't have any more to say, and then I say more. Apologies, Tim. There's
a lot to say. That's the thing. It's just a matter of where finding the point to wrap it up. I guess this would be the point to wrap it up there. Yeah. And Leigh Hunt is our guest and the author of I Don't Like Mondays, a true story behind America's first modern school shooting. It's available at wildbluepress.com. We'll have a link in the description of this show. And Leigh, I want to thank you so much for joining us today, my friend. And I wish you much success with the book. I hope it sells more than the actual song I Don't Like Mondays.
I doubt that, Tim, but you know what? Thank you for your well wishes, and I'm glad you enjoyed the read. And let's do this again another time with my next book. I want to come on your show first again if I can.
Yes, sir. I would appreciate that. That would we'll call it we'll call it a plan. That's for sure. That's for sure.
Good. It's in the diary already, Tim.
All right. Sounds
Thank
good.
You for having me.
Sounds good. Folks, it's that time once again to bring in Beer City Bruiser, and it's time now for Dumb Crimes and Stupid Criminals.
It's Crayon News story time.
What happened with this dude, Christ Bearer? I heard he cut his penis off and then jumped off a balcony.
Suspect pulls gun from butt, shoots twice at Denver police.
What is your emergency?
I need help.
And what's the problem?
I'm too high.
You're too high?
Yeah.
It's that time once again, Dumb Crimes, Stupid Criminals, and boy, the dumber they get, the stupider they sound, or something to that effect. It's that time once again. Let's bring in our buddy, the BCB, the Big Cuddly Bear, Beer City Bruiser. How you doing, Bruiser?
I'm doing fantastic, Tim. Surviving the storm that's hitting us right now, but doing well.
Yeah, before we jumped on the air, I heard the loudest crack of thunder I've ever heard in my life, and it was over a microphone from thousands of miles away.
I didn't know the radar could turn purple. It's purple. But you know what?
That's a color option.
Yeah.
Huh.
And it's you could see, like, physically see raindrops falling. It's falling so hard. But Ziggy Starpup, she's doing well. I thought this is like one of the first major storms with her, but she's doing okay. She jumps, but she's doing okay.
So you're not in a hurricane right now?
No hurricane.
Okay.
We're too far from the coast for the hurricane.
Okay. Just checking. All right. You're not going to float away on us while we're doing this.
No, I'm here.
Okay, good.
Here to talk about these dumb crimes and these stupid criminals. Oh, stupid criminals.
Yes, indeed, sir. Yeah, it's an interesting week this week. Of course, we've got food battery towards the end of the program. We'll have our food section as we want to do. People, put down the food when you're about to beat somebody up. We'll just put it that way. Food is good. Food works.
I didn't know there were so many food crimes until I started doing this with you. And now there's a lot more food crimes than I thought in this world.
When I go to, not like I go to hit people on a regular basis, but if I was going to go to hit somebody, I wouldn't use food.
I've in a match or two. I've used food. I've used beer, and I've used cake and pies, Twinkies.
I could see pies and cakes, but I mean, we'll get to it. We'll get there. We'll get there. It's just it's some odd choices this week.
Okay.
Yeah, odd choices. I don't get it. But speaking of people who deserve a beating, Bruiser, this is the what I like to call the Who Deserves a Beating from Bruiser section of the show. We've got 3 Georgia handymen who deserve a swift beating from Bruiser. That's how we're starting off the show today. 3 Georgia handymen accused of swindling a 90-year-old woman out of $118,000.
Oh, that's just wrong.
I'll line them up. You go ahead and start swinging, my friend.
Oh, yeah, they're all getting punched in the mouth.
Yep, we're going to Floyd County, Georgia, where 3 handymen stand accused of swindling a 90-year-old woman out of her life savings, according to WAGA TV. That's WAGA TV. Does Ziggy Starpup own that station?
I think she does.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, that's something that she's the president of.
Yeah, WAGA TV. The elderly woman hired 39-year-old Robert Criswell, 28-year-old Kyle Dover, and maybe his nickname should be Ben. And
brother.
It is 23-year-old Hunter Hammett for tree work and hanging shutters on her property. The men allegedly defrauded the woman out of $118,000 when she wrote them as many as 33 checks for work to be done.
How could you feel good about yourself when you're swindling an old lady like that? That's not even a challenge.
No, it's not. In some cases, the hired men reportedly followed the elderly woman to the bank for their cash.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. After the job, WAGA reports that trees and shrubs were left on the victim's property and the shutters were not fully attached.
Which I guess she's 90. She's not really inspecting everything. She's just trustworthy.
Yeah. Well, it's not like she can get out there and go take a spin around the property either. Yeah.
Unless she's got a rascal.
Well, that's true. Yeah. Exactly, Ziggy. I'd beat their ass too.
She's just talking about how great her TV station's reporting on this story.
Yeah, they did a very good job, Ziggy. I'm very pleased. According to a press release obtained by WAGA.
We're going to giggle every time.
Yeah, I know. The Floyd County Sheriff's Office wrote, trailers filled with pine straw, rogue tree surgeons, and traveling paving companies will often exaggerate damage and embellish their skill level to give hope to victims who might only need small repairs. The press release continued, in return for little or no work being done, these scammers often drive away with small fortunes. Investigators believe the suspects were living at a campsite approximately 10 minutes from the woman's home. Authorities followed the suspects to the campsite and they were arrested on Wednesday, August 10th. Criswell and Dover were charged with exploitation of the elderly and theft by deception. Hammett was charged with exploitation of the elderly, theft by deception, and probation violation. Criswell and Dover remain held on $15,000 bond, while Hammett remains held without bond. I think they all should be held without bond.
Yeah, but the thing is, since it's the other two weren't on probation or parole, it's their right to have bond. With the third one, because he was on probation or parole, that automatically you're going to jail. No getting out.
Yeah.
It's revoked.
Yeah.
I agree with it. I agree with it, but we have to, the law says you're innocent until proven guilty. So
yeah, that's true.
They give you a chance to get out of there.
That is true. I saw this story last week on the news, and it was disturbing. I actually saw the video.
Really? You saw this happen live, huh?
I saw this video. I was watching a lot of times late night when I'm having issues, and I'm waiting for my gummies to kick in. I will sit up and I'll watch the bell ring. Evidently,
I don't know what that was.
I heard the bell. I didn't hear no bell. I
was locked up with Ziggy there. I heard that.
I think Ziggy wants to fight.
She's chewing on a toy.
Oh,
I don't know what that was.
Huh? Interesting. I was watching NBC Now, I think is what it's called. It's the overnight news service.
Okay.
And this story was so disturbing, and I'll tell you why here in a second. We're going to Irvine, California, where a 45-year-old dermatologist stands accused of poisoning her husband of 10 years.
Ooh, a little Black Widow action.
Yeah, but this happened over time.
Yeah, normally poisonings do. When I hear about poisoning scandals,
I'm talking like long term. Like
more than 3 years.
It was over the course of a month, but
okay.
I'll explain how she did it, because this is kind of bizarre, and the image was stunning, to put it mildly. And I'll explain here in a second. According to a news release from the Irvine Police Department on Thursday, August 4th, a man told authorities he believed he was being poisoned by his wife.
No, you too.
No, you. Over the course of a month, the victim reportedly fell ill and became suspicious of his wife. Police said the victim was able to capture video evidence supporting his suspicion and turned it over to police. Yu, who also goes by Emily, had allegedly been poisoning her husband without his knowledge for an unknown amount of time. The victim was reportedly able to capture Yu pouring a drain cleaner into her husband's beverage on July 11th. The victim allegedly took a sip from the cup and exited the kitchen. According to police, Yu was interviewed and a search warrant was executed at the home she shares with the victim. Yu was arrested and booked into Orange County Jail on August 4th. She was reportedly released the next day after posting bond. The victim is expected to recover after enduring significant internal injuries from the alleged poisoning.
You're not supposed to be drinking that. There's a reason it's called drain cleaner.
Right, exactly. The victim and suspect reportedly have 2 children together. In addition to the alleged poisoning, a domestic violence restraining order was filed against Yu, that according to KTLA. Yu and Yu's mother had allegedly physically, verbally, and emotionally abused the children. Now, here's the other thing that comes into play in this story as well. That's not reported in this particular story, but I was watching this again on NBC. He set up 2 cameras because he said he felt not only this burning in his throat, but in his stomach. And he'd gone to the doctor and he couldn't understand what was going on. He thought he actually was developing ulcers.
Okay, yeah.
The doctor did a series of tests and he said, well, you have some irritation in the throat and the stomach, but we can't understand what's going on.
Right.
He said, doctor, I think I'm being poisoned. And he said, I'm going to set up some cameras around the house. So what he did is he was drinking like a hot lemony tea. Okay. So he set up cameras in the kitchen area. And what he did was he heated up this cup and then he put like saran wrap or like a clear wrap over the cup.
Okay.
All right. Then he'd leave the room. And the wife walked in with the industrial size container.
She was making sure she got that job done.
Right, of Drano. And then she'd pour just a little bit into the cup and then put the saran wrap back over the cup.
Yeah.
And then put the drain cleaner like right back and act like nothing happened.
Oh, geez.
And she put the saran wrap back over the cup so that, she'd try to cover her tracks. And he'd come in and he'd sip out of the cup.
Yeah. What if one of the kids got it? She didn't think that through.
I don't think she cared.
Yeah. Well, she did name them You and You Are.
Yeah.
That was bad.
It was really bad. But yeah, it was chilling. Cause
it has to, yeah.
I mean, she's adding shots of Drano into the cup.
Yeah.
And you're sitting here watching her do it and just just the stone-faced look in her eye. You know, it was just this.
Well, I'm thinking too, she probably had conversations with him. They probably had intimate moments in this month that she's been poisoning him. Like, she has to put on a completely different face around him.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it was like she was just adding creamer to coffee.
Yeah.
Like, oh, he forgot his creamer.
Psychopath.
Yeah. And the fact that her and her mother were going after him and the kids.
Right.
And were completely abusive to both of them is just unreal.
Well, hearing that the mother did it, you kind of get where she got it from, too. Yeah. She probably was raised that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is sad. You got to break the cycle. So hopefully these kids don't do that. Yeah.
And you see the mugshot of her. She looks like Michelle Yeoh, the actress.
Oh yeah, she's young too.
Yeah, yeah.
She doesn't look that old. I'm picturing an older housewife.
No,
like an old. She's young.
Yeah, she's got to be. Well, she's got to be in her 40s. But yeah, she looks like Michelle Yeoh.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Yeah, yeah. It's a sad story, but I mean, what goes through a person's mind where they're like, you know what, I'm just going to kill him slowly.
Yeah, and then. I think that's the worst kind of psychopath because, like I said, you have to live essentially two lives. You have to be the poisoner that's poisoning this person, and then you have to be the person that cares and loves them and all that. And I know there's some version of killers that like to be the doctor, so they always keep the person sick by poisoning him like that. Mm-hmm. This just sounds like she just wanted to slowly get him out of her life.
Yeah. Yep.
Did they interview her on any of the article obviously, but did they interview her on the thing you saw where she gave a reason why?
No, she hasn't been interviewed as of yet. Nope.
I'm curious to know why that route.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because if he died, they'll do a toxicology report and find out Drano in his system.
Yeah, yeah, she'll eventually get caught.
Yeah,
because in the toxicology report will be the Drano.
Yep.
Because that doesn't leave the system very easily.
No.
Yeah. From one husband to another being assaulted. You might have heard this story already, but singer Michelle Branch is arrested for allegedly assaulting her husband. And there's an interesting twist to this.
Okay, I did not hear the story, so I'm excited to see what the twist is.
You haven't heard this story as of yet?
No.
Singer Michelle Branch, we go to Nashville for this. Singer Michelle Branch has been arrested after allegedly assaulting her husband. According to WKRN TV on Thursday, August 11th, shortly after 2 a.m., Nashville Metropolitan Police Department officers responded to a report of possible domestic assault at the scene. Authorities reportedly learned that Branch had allegedly assaulted her husband, Black Keys drummer Patrick Carney, at their home in Belle Meade.
I'm a big fan of the Black Keys, too. How dare she?
Well, evidently,
great band.
She was practicing time on her drummer husband's head. Yeah. Branch and her husband were reportedly having marital issues. Their arguing eventually escalated, and Michelle allegedly slapped Carney in the face 1 or 2 times. The 39-year-old singer was arrested and booked into the Davidson County Metro Jail on August 11th. She was later released on bond. Branch and her husband reportedly married in April 2019 and have 2 children. Now, interestingly enough, Michelle Branch went on to, now she was arrested at 2 a.m.
Right.
She went on to Twitter at midnight and had made mention of something that about to happen, or made a mention of, I'm trying to remember how it went down.
She was letting her followers know that she may be gone for a little bit.
Yeah,
without saying why.
Essentially, yeah. She said that
it's not like she can go on Twitter and go, "I just slapped the shit out of my husband. The police are on their way." She
essentially said something to the effect of, "There's going to be some trouble in paradise." Put it that way.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, there was an issue there. Yeah. And I don't have the exact tweet in front of me, but let's just say that there was a tweet that was put out there. So
it was one of those, what do they call it? A cryptic tweet.
Yes, there you go. Yes, a cryptic tweet put out by Michelle Branch. So she knew she was getting in trouble.
Yeah.
And she pretty much put it out there that there was hell to pay.
Did they say there was drugs and alcohol involved, or was it just a fight got out of hand?
She just decided she was going after him.
Oh. Well, hopefully she gets the help that she needs.
I think he's the one who needs help at this point.
He needs to go. They need to go on tour is what it is.
Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned, my friend. She had already made up her mind she was going after him. That's for sure. We switch gears. We go to Alabama, where a woman is facing meth charges, and as she's getting busted, it turns out that you got to dress for the crime that you want to commit.
Well, yeah, we had that one story where the guy wore the shirt about how he does drugs, and he's arrested for drugs possession. You got to dress accordingly.
That's right. This woman was busted on meth charges, so obviously she's wearing...
Well, let's see. It's got to be a shirt talking about meth or drugs.
She's wearing a Walter White T-shirt.
Oh, Breaking Bad. There you go. Look at that.
Yeah. In Alabama...
We had stories about the guy wearing a mugshot of somebody. Wearing a mugshot of somebody, and then that was his mugshot. So now she's wearing a famous person who's known for making meth.
See, there you go. An Alabama woman facing methamphetamine charges was wearing a Walter White T-shirt when arrested. It says last night, but this was actually August 9th, so it was a little bit ago.
It was a while ago.
Yeah, she was arrested on August 8th for failing to appear in court on the drug counts. 50-year-old Misty Mays. Oh, that's a dancing name if I've ever heard one.
That's her stage name. Coming to stage.
Misty Mays was collared on Sunday evening on a misdemeanor rap for a court no-show in connection with her February arrest for possession of meth and drug paraphernalia. In other words, a meth pipe.
At 50, you'd think you'd find your life and have it pretty figured out where meth is kind of in the past.
Hey, I'll tell you. As speaking from the 50 crowd,
I was gonna say you're looking at the meth now, huh?
I may switch her up to meth because energy is a rare thing in my world. If you can get a little bit of a boost, if you got to ride the snake to get there, what's a few teeth?
Well, I'm only 44, so I got a few more years before, and I got no teeth, so I'm not really risking much, am I?
No, not at all. And you know what? Hey, weight loss, it's a benefit. Just saying, Mays was arrested earlier this year following an 11:30 p.m. traffic stop in, is it Wetumpka?
Wetumpka.
I'm sure people will email me and tell me. A city about 20 miles north of Montgomery. Police search turned up the meth in the pipe, according to investigators, as seen above, which you can't see because it's radio. When Mays was apprehended on the failure to appear rap, she was wearing a mint-colored shirt with a large photo of White, a teacher turned meth kingpin portrayed by Bryan Cranston in Breaking Bad. In the photo, White Cranston is pictured surrounded by stacks of cash, which she probably doesn't have a lot of if she's, hitting the meth pipe. Yeah.
Yeah, because he never did the meth in the show, right? I've only seen one episode of it.
No.
Never watched it.
No.
Wasn't a fan.
Like Ice-T used to say, never get high on your own supply.
Yeah, I've heard numerous drug dealers say, you want to get rich, you don't do your stuff.
That's right. Mays is being held in the Elmore County lockup in lieu of $20,500 bond. Yikes.
She better start selling that meth if she wants to pay for that. Or it's going to be a lot of lap dances from Misty Mays.
that kind of, what was it? It was Billy Mays that used to sell the
he was the ultimate pitch guy.
Yeah, he was the ShamWow.
ShamWow.
Yeah.
No, he wasn't ShamWow. ShamWow was the other guy that bit the hooker. Billy Mays was...
Wasn't Billy Mays ShamWow?
Maybe he was. I thought the ShamWow guy... No, ShamWow guy bit the hooker in the face, and he's the one that threw the ShamWow over his shoulder and landed perfectly in the sink. Billy Mays did the... what's the stuff that works underwater? It also works underwater. It's like a glue. You know what I'm talking about? It's got the glue.
Or you're not talking about Flex Seal.
Yes, used to do Flex Seal.
I use that to repair my casts.
Yeah. We were talking about
tape.
Yeah, Billy Mays was the original Flex Seal guy and he died of a heart attack on a plane, and I think it's because of all the cocaine he was using.
There's nothing like a little speculation there, Bruiser.
It's all
because of all the cocaine.
Rumor. All 100% rumor, but he totally acted like he was on cocaine. And then he dies of a heart attack? Sure, cocaine does that.
Well, he was also the OxyClean guy.
There it is, OxyClean.
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought oxycodone, but no, OxyClean he was.
I don't know why I thought oxycodone. Oh, we
not want to get those two mixed up. Yeah. You'll be like our first story.
I don't know that we should throw drugs on him before Let me give the official cause of death here before you start throwing drugs on him. It was a heart attack. After an initial autopsy in 2009, Bernard Adams, the Hillsborough County, Florida medical examiner, stated that Mays suffered from hypertensive heart disease, and that heart disease was likely the cause of death. It was from all that shouting.
Just the yelling that you got to buy stuff.
Yeah, you got to buy the OxyClean. According to a toxicology, what's it from the cocaine? According to a toxicology report released on August 7th of 2009, heart disease was the primary cause of death. Oh, you're right. And cocaine was listed as a contributory cause of death. Okay, my apologies.
Doing lines of coke on the plane.
It was Billy Mays and the cocaine. I'm sorry. All right.
I had a weird fascination with pitchmen back then because him and the ShamWow guy, you get done with the underwater needlepoint, you get home, you're tired, but you're still awake. So you turn on the late night TV, you're drinking a few beers, and those guys come on, and it's like, yes, I'm going to buy all this. And then they start having these stories like him dying of cocaine, like the ShamWow guy biting the hooker. It's like perfect.
Okay, so the ShamWow pitchman is Vince Offer.
Yeah, you never heard that he bit a hooker?
No.
Or she bit him. It was either he bit her or she bit him.
All right, wait a minute. Now I'm obsessed. Dumb Crime Stupid Criminals has gone off the rails. Now we need to find the bit the hooker thing.
Well, these are technically it's a dumb crime stupid criminal because one of them bit I want to say he bit the prostitute in the face. But it might be backwards.
He was in the Underground Comedy movie. He actually funded the Underground Comedy movie with his own money, but had difficulty selling it. He put the trailer in an infomercial and claims to have sold 50,000 copies via direct order and 50,000 more in stores. In 2010, he advertised Eminem's Recovery album. In 2020, Eminem celebrated the 10th anniversary of his album Recovery by introducing merchandise and sharing the original commercial starring Offer. It's the most fame he ever got. Okay, let me see here. Oh, that's right. He also advertised the Slap Chop.
Yeah. That's the one where he throws it over his shoulder, the slap chop over his shoulder, and it lands in the sink. It's the reason I got the slap chop.
Did you ever get the sticky?
Nope. Just the slap chop.
I don't remember.
Because of what in the ad, if you go back and watch the ad, he throws it over his left, I believe his left or right shoulder, and it lands perfectly in the sink.
Okay, here's the arrest. On February 7th of 2009, Offer and a 26-year-old prostitute were arrested in Miami Beach, Florida after a physical altercation. The police report stated that the woman had bitten onto Offer's tongue and refused to let go.
See?
At which point, Offer began beating her and left her with lacerations and fractures. That's called the slap chop, I guess. Police later released photos of the bloodied Offer, hotel room, and the battered woman. Prosecutors later declined to file formal charges against either person. When Offer later spoke of the arrest, he stated, "It probably saved my life." Vince Offer married Melody Claire Mandate on April 18th of 2014. Mandate filed for divorce on October 18th of 2018. So it was a good long marriage.
Oh, yeah, 4 years.
Yeah.
But you know those late night talk show guys, they're all about the money, the drugs, and the women.
So you got the slap chop, but did you ever get the crank chop?
No, that sounds dirty.
It does, doesn't it? I don't want anybody chopping anything near my crank.
Neither do I.
No. Interesting. The crank chop, by the way, if you didn't know what that is, it says the crank chop infomercial demonstrating the abilities of the product that slices and dices food with the pull of a nylon cord.
Oh, okay. Okay.
The crank chop.
That was the time period of we just wanted to chop things up as quick as possible.
Yeah, I don't know what the fascination was. I mean,
I owned a slap chop, and like I said, it was all because of that commercial. It was a drunk buy.
My God. Well, did it work, the slap chop?
I think we used it like once, and then I tried to reenact a commercial, and I broke it.
That was it once, and it broke, huh?
Well, it's because like I said, the reason it's so good is when you watch one of the commercials, he throws it over his shoulder and it lands perfectly in the sink. I'm like, oh, so he used it. I'm like, oh, I'll do that too, and it just blew up. Like it's just cheap plastic.
My God. Oh,
I'm glad I stopped following him after that. Otherwise, I'd be punching hookers. Getting my tongue bit off.
Living the life of Vince Offer, are you?
He was the man back in the day.
It's a charmed life.
At that time period, I wanted to be a late night spokesperson. That would have been just the coolest job. Like Billy May and him made it look like they were living the dream.
Beer City Brews are here for ShamWow. Did you spill your beer? Do you need to clean it up quick? ShamWow.
Yep.
I don't know. I can't see it, man.
I can't either now that I'm older and I'm more mature and sober.
Yeah, I mean, you just need a mountain of cocaine and a slap chop, and I'm sure you'll be just fine.
Exactly. And a hooker to beat.
And a hooker to beat.
Yeah.
I just think you're a more decent guy than that, but sure, okay.
I 100% am.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I'm better than that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll move on. I'll let you contemplate your life choices while I read this next story. I mean, we don't want to see on Dumb Crime Stupid Criminals, but
no, I'm perfectly fine now. I'm a happily married man with a cat and a dog and kids, and I'm good.
Okay.
Just the thought of even doing cocaine anymore, like my heart already explodes, or meth. I was just telling you I was up for almost 40 hours this week.
Yeah,
you expect me on meth?
Yeah, it'd be a little rough. We go back to Florida, where a woman made 11,000 calls to a police line, evidently trying to order the ShamWow. I don't know what she was doing. This 50-year-old Floridian was busted for a torrent of threats and harassment this year.
She just decided to call the police and threaten them?
Yeah, well, she had nothing better to do.
Those are call your local Pizza Hut or something, not the police station.
Yeah. I hate those commercials. I hate it when she counts the money and he goes, "My pizza." A Florida woman this year has made more than 11,000 harassing phone calls to a police emergency communication center, according to cops who say the defendant admitted that she loves playing this game.
I'm like the Jerky Boys. I love this.
50-year-old Carla Jefferson was busted Monday evening on a misdemeanor charge of placing a torrent of phone calls to the St. Petersburg Police Department in the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office. A criminal
it's like some of those dumb jokes like, "Hey, is your refrigerator running?" "It sure is. You might want to go get it."
And then, and then hang it up. A criminal complaint alleges that Jefferson, during a single 24-hour period last month, called the police department's emergency communications center 512 times.
She needs a hobby.
In 24 hours.
Yeah, she needs a hobby.
What do you say on time 498?
Hello?
Hello. Like, isn't this getting old?
Oh, God, yeah. Do you think she had one of those bad dad jokes and was just reading each joke every single call? Like she'd read the bad dad joke and then hang up? and read the bad dad joke and hang up.
Probably. How many times do you go through the Truly Tasteless Jokes books before they've had enough? Like before you start saying the jokes back to her, right? Jefferson, investigators say, harasses, belittles, swears at, argues with police employees who answer her calls. The content of these... What's that?
I said, okay.
Oh.
She just, okay.
Yeah. I shouldn't say the content. Nobody's content. The content of these phone calls are vulgar, threatening, or obscene and contain extreme expletives, sexual innuendo, and belittling remarks to the communications staff. According to a court filing.
You know those are recorded somewhere. They got to release those.
I would hope so.
Every call is recorded coming into a police station. You know they got to release these. At least to the local police, for a good laugh.
Yeah. I think Ziggy agrees. Ziggy wants to hear these too.
Well, she wants me to call the police.
And do the exact same thing?
Exactly.
Call up and say, you got a little dick. I want to see that little dick. Come on now. I don't know.
You're going to bend over and kiss that sweet ass goodbye.
On some occasions, Jefferson has demanded officers come to her St. Petersburg residence and arrest her.
Come and arrest me right now.
Take me to jail.
I'm ready, boys.
Upon the arrival of cops, Jefferson retreats inside, refuses to answer the door, and has in the past given officers the middle finger and screams at them through the windows. This according to Officer Christopher Bishop.
I can't wait to be old and just flip off people randomly for no reason.
Oh, I'm getting there. I'm at that age. Yeah.
You're out feeding the chipmunks and you see a kid riding his bike and you're like, yeah, flip you off.
Yeah, I'm like, take this, kid. Look it's a birdie.
You know you're badass when you start calling the cops though to do it.
Yeah.
Then you know.
Yeah. Then you're ready to go to jail or die.
She's got some street rep when she gets in that jail.
They throw a party. They yell "Hail Caesar" when you walk into the cell.
They walk up to the correctional officer and go, "She's your problem now."
That's right. You may take her. She's yours now. In a bid to get Jefferson to cease calling, police officials earlier this year sent a certified letter informing her that further abuse of the non-emergency line, well, at least it's the non-emergency line.
That's true. She's not blocking anything.
Right.
I like how they sent it a certified letter so they know it's professional.
Well, that way they know she's signing for it. They know that she's actually reading it.
Yeah.
So further abuse of the non-emergency line would result in criminal charges. Jefferson, who dialed police from two separate numbers, allegedly,
Allegedly want to be tracked.
Yeah, because the 250th time you call from one number isn't obvious. Jefferson, who dialed police from two separate numbers, allegedly ignored the warning, prompting cops to arrest her in late June on a pair of misdemeanor counts. She was released from custody after posting $400 bond. Jefferson was arrested Monday for allegedly continuing her phone harassment even after her June 30th caller. Jefferson was freed from the county jail recently on her own recognizance. Investigators say that Jefferson's 11,000 plus calls account for approximately 10% of the total call volume of the St. Petersburg Police Department non-emergency number.
Wow. In her defense, the second time she thought it was the survey she was calling. You know, you get done at a restaurant or someplace.
Yeah,
you have a survey. Yeah, that's what it was. She got out of jail. They said, here, call this number for a survey.
This Cracker Barrel is terrible. Jefferson's criminal history includes multiple felony and misdemeanor battery convictions and a total of 6 years in state prison. Somebody's got a rage problem.
Yeah, somebody needs to check on this lady. This girl needs a hug.
That's what it is.
A hug badly.
Come over here and get a hug. Come on now. Let's go to Pennsylvania, where if you think that woman has a rage problem,
I do.
Boy, you haven't seen anything yet, Bruiser.
Worse than 11,000 calls to a police station, huh?
Oh, yeah. A Pennsylvania woman is accused of setting an ex's car on fire using a spell book and then pointing a loaded shotgun at him.
Witches don't use guns.
Oh, yeah? Well, when
the Hocus Pocus, they didn't.
Well, when the spell book fails, you got to have backup. 47-year...
That's a horror movie right there. When the spell book fails.
The shotgun doesn't. 47-year-old woman was taken into custody after she allegedly threatened her ex with a loaded shotgun and used a spell book to light his car on fire.
I'm curious how.
It's good kindling, evidently.
I guess.
Yeah.
Like she just put it on there and used the match anyway.
Yep. Court documents show Christy Malsey was charged with reckless burning or exploding. That's a charge?
Reckless exploding is a charge, huh?
I didn't know there was responsible exploding.
I didn't either.
2 counts of terroristic threats with intent to terrorize others and simple assault. How can you have simple assault and reckless exploding in the same charge?
Well, because if it was intentional exploding, then it's assault. It's not simple anymore.
I see. She was booked into the Cambria County Jail and is being held on $25,000 bail. According to court documents cited by WTAJ-TV on July 30th, Malsey allegedly went to BK's Classics, which is a used car dealership in Story Creek Township, to confront her ex-boyfriend at work. Oh, that always works. That's a good plan.
Yeah.
Confront him at work where he can have time to sit there and talk to you.
Oh, yeah, especially being a used car salesman.
Yeah, plenty of time.
Yeah.
When she got into his office, Malsey reportedly said she was going to kill him and her mother. Then picked up a loaded shotgun from his office. There's probably a reason he has one there.
I was going to say, why does he have a shotgun in his office? But after hearing about this lady, I understand.
Probably because he's dating a middle-aged witch.
Yeah.
That's why he has one. And pointed it at his head. Oh, okay. Good. Yeah, yep. Good.
That was a good investment there, bud.
Yep. She reportedly hit him with it several times, but he grabbed the barrel.
He put his finger in it. Can't shoot it now. Can't shoot it now.
I learned this on Bugs Bunny. The ex reportedly pushed Malsey back and called an employee for help, who then removed her from the building. Outside the dealership, Malsey allegedly set a 2012 Ford Focus ablaze using...
Wait, he's a used car salesman? He drives a 2012 Ford Focus?
No, I think this was outside in the lot.
Oh, okay. This was for sale. Gotcha.
Yeah, she randomly picked a 2012 Ford Focus.
Because that'll do it.
Well, evidently they light up easy. I have no idea. She set a 2012 Ford Focus ablaze using the Wicca Book of Spells and putting burning pieces of paper inside the car. Beware, owners of 2012 Ford Focuses. Your Ford Focus can go up in flames using a Wicca Book of Spells.
Check the Carfax.
Yes, check the Carfax. The employee reportedly saw the fire and helped put it out using a fire extinguisher. The ex allegedly found pages from the spell book in the engine of a car he was working on.
What a nice little threat.
Yeah, well, you know, she's a sporty gal. She's spirited. WGAC TV reports investigators found other pages of the spell book on the ground in the parking lot, and witnesses allegedly believe she was practicing witchcraft.
Was this book even like put together, or does she like have a binder of spells and she's running away? They're just falling out of the binder behind her. You know what I mean? Like someone that's late to class and they're trying to get their stuff out of their locker. Like I just picture this witch running through this lot with this spell book pages floating all around her.
Sounds like you were starting a country song there. She's got pages floating from the binder behind her. Exactly, Ziggy.
She took my shotgun and hit me in the head.
She set my Ford Focus ablaze.
She lost her spell book and her mind.
I wanted to stick it. Turns out she's into Wicca. I don't know. Yeah, that's...
And now the crazy bitch is gone.
Do they say that word in country? Maybe new country.
Yeah.
New country, maybe. I don't
know.
Never heard George Jones use that word.
Neither have I. Okay.
Good times. Hey, let's go to Arizona, where if you thought setting Ford Focuses was bad on fire, I don't know, I'm speaking like Yoda now. If you thought setting Ford Focuses on fire was bad. Bad Yoda impression. An Arizona man is accused of intentionally running over someone with a car and then stomping on his head.
Oh, because the car wasn't enough.
Yeah. There's a little thing called overkill.
Yeah. Oh, big time.
Yeah. We go to Mesa, Arizona, where a 61-year-old man was arrested after allegedly using his car to fatally run over a man and stomp on him.
Oops.
Yikes. According to a news release from the Mesa Police Department on August 12th, shortly after 12:30 p.m., officers responded near East Calder, Mesa, to a report of a vehicular crash. At the scene, the victim, 63-year-old Christopher Heimer, was reportedly pronounced dead. Upon further investigation, police learned through video surveillance, camera footage, and witness interviews that Heimer was walking westbound on Alder as John Lagana was driving eastbound. Lagana allegedly swerved off the road and struck Heimer. Heimer was thrown into the yard of a fourplex apartment building, according to police. Lagana reportedly drove down the sidewalk and damaged mailboxes before turning around and heading towards Heimer again.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. According to police, Lagana exited his car and stomped on Heimer's head as he was lying injured on the ground. Yikes.
Ouch.
A witness allegedly shot into the ground to stop Lagana from fleeing the area.
Yeah, you gotta watch out if you're gonna commit crime. There's pedestrians with conceal and carry permits.
Yeah. Officers arrived and took Lagana into custody. Before the incident, Lagana was allegedly parked in a vacant lot near Heimer's home. According to police, witnesses said Lagana honked his horn repeatedly until Heimer came out of his home. At the scene, officers reportedly discovered skid marks in the road and sidewalk from Lagana's car. Lagana told investigators he knew Heimer, and Heimer let him park at his residence because Lagana was homeless. Lagana's ex-girlfriend was allegedly living in Heimer's home. Police said Lagana was booked into jail for first-degree murder on $2 million bond.
Wow. Didn't say why he chased after him, though, huh?
No, didn't say why he...
Just decided, hey, I'm going to hit you with my car. Well, that doesn't work. I'm going to come out and...
Yep.
I don't get the damage of all the mailboxes to just kick them in the head. Like, you're going to go through all that, just run them over with the car again.
It's a personal touch.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah, it just feels like he needs to give him one for the road, I guess.
Okay.
A pinch to grow an inch. I don't know. Speaking of the personal touch, a woman is arrested for stabbing an inflatable rat outside of a funeral home.
What? So many questions with that headline. I will let you read this story before I ask my questions.
Sure.
There's so many questions with this headline.
Yeah, there are. We go to Springfield, Illinois, where a woman was arrested Monday during a protest outside of Stab Funeral Home. You heard me right. S-T-A-A-B. It might be Stab.
I think it's Stab. I don't think it's Stab.
Well, either way, potato.
Marketing.
Yeah. Stab Funeral Home in Springfield, Illinois. Protesters say they rallied outside the funeral home in protest over Stab hiring a roofer who is not part of a union. At some point during the protest, a woman was arrested for stabbing the large inflatable rat protesters had put outside the building. Springfield police identified the woman as 31-year-old Lawrence Stab the rat. Stab the rat.
Stab the rat.
Yeah. She was arrested on a charge of criminal damage to property. The inflatable rat is reportedly valued at $5,000.
Yeah, now I get why they're there. I thought the the funeral home put the rat on. They're like, that's not good advertising.
No, it isn't.
It makes sense that they're protesting a union thing. So.
Yeah. To Florida we go yet again because it's Florida, man, and you can't get enough. All right, Bruiser, are you ready for this?
I'm ready. What did they do?
We got to stretch before this one. This
is a big one, huh?
This one's going to hurt. All right. Naked machete-wielding Florida man tries to rob a victim of his clothing.
Well, yeah, he's naked. He needs clothes.
Yes, he just wanted the shirt off his back. A naked Florida felon armed with a machete was arrested Monday after demanding a man's clothes at knife point. That according to the Volusia County Sheriff's Office. The victim told deputies that Brandon Wright suddenly came running out of the bushes where he was picking berries and told him to hand over his garments, wallet, and phone at around 10 a.m. Bright and early in the morning.
Yeah, he was picking berries naked?
Yeah, well, how else do you pick berries?
Not naked. There's usually thorns.
Well, I mean, you want to be...
There's things I want covered if there's thorns.
You want to be one with nature. You're berry picking. You're sampling the berries. And maybe you're smudging a little on your tum-tum. I don't know.
These are good berries.
It's a good berry. Look I got berries on my tum-tum.
He woke up that morning, went out to pick berries, and was like, man, I feel like I forgot something.
Oh, yeah.
I forgot to get dressed. I'll ask this guy.
My clothes. As he began complying, Wright suddenly hurled the machete at him, along with a handful of palmetto berries. I don't know which one to throw, palmetto berries or a machete. I'll throw both.
One of these will fix it.
The weapon bounced off of the victim's chest, and he avoided injury. Oh.
He's lucky it spun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was going to say, it's either not a sharp machete
or it's spun.
Yeah, or it's spun and handle first. Still nude, it says here. Wright sprinted off and hopped into his white Dodge Challenger. Oh, can you imagine if it was real?
He has a car but no clothes?
Yes, where do you keep the keys, right?
Yeah, exactly.
There's only one place you can put those keys.
Hung the key ring around it or something?
I don't know. Well, maybe you can hang the key ring from it. I was thinking, you got to...
Oh, you're thinking up and in. I'm thinking like a key hook. Yeah. We're on either end of the body.
Yeah, that's true. Well, either way, there's a place to keep it.
Yeah.
Still nude, Wright sprinted off, hopped into his white Dodge Challenger, and fled the scene. Either way, it was a shitty getaway.
Yeah.
Soon after, patrons of a nearby gas station told police that Wright had pulled up next to a pump and exited his vehicle.
Hey, it says no shoes, no shirt, no service.
That's right. Didn't say anything about
pants or shorts.
Yeah.
And he was just getting gas.
Or gloves. Exactly, Ziggy. A police helicopter tracked Wright down and relayed his activities to a dispatcher at this point. Oh, my God.
Poor helicopter guy's got to follow the naked guy around.
Right. At this point, we get a quote. He's doing push-ups at the entrance to the food store here, the pilot states at one point.
Well, you got to get your pump in.
You do.
He just got a saw palmetto.
Yeah.
He took his saw palmetto, so his prostate's feeling good. Yep. He's like, this testosterone's going to start flowing.
Yep.
I obviously need to work out because when I threw that machete, it just bounced off the guy.
Oh, yeah.
It's supposed to be a kill shot. Wasn't.
Nope. It was barely a knockout shot.
And what better way to do push-ups than naked?
That's right. You got to feel the breeze.
Exactly.
Video also shows Wright walking in the middle of the street as startled drivers maneuver around him. As deputies approached, Wright laid down next to his car and surrendered without incident.
Oh, okay. I thought we'd have a fight, but no, he was done.
Nope. He needed a nap. Naked.
He had a full day.
Naked guy go night-night. The sheriff's office said Wright had prior convictions for kidnapping, gun possession by a felon, battery on a law enforcement officer, cocaine possession.
Well, there it is.
And resisting arrest. He remains in custody without bond, which I'm shocked about because, if you can't snort cocaine and go picking palmetto berries, what can you do in this lifetime? Here's I don't know if you can see this, Bruiser. Can you see this?
You got to lift it up a little bit.
That's what.
There we go. That's a naked man.
That's a naked man. That's
another naked man laying down.
Okay. So you see that? Okay.
I like how the cops don't know where they're going to put their hands and feet.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So you see that? You see naked man being busted?
Yeah.
Here's naked man kind of laying out, waiting for the cop to search him and look for his keys.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's pretty much that's the flip book of naked man in Florida.
Naked Florida man is a new thing, huh?
Yeah. The naked Florida man flip book. You can get your copy right now at darknessradio.com. Just kidding. You can't.
No, you can't.
Good luck trying to find that one. Just saying. No, I'm going to get requests. When is it going to be on sale?
We're going to have to now make a Florida naked man flip book, aren't we?
Yep. And as you flip it, you just see this big thing rise up and then rise down.
And then like a keychain slide down and then slide back.
Yep. You see him hide his keys and then pull them back out again. Okay. Next, we stay in Florida.
Okay.
Again, I told you we were going to get to the point. We're in the point of the program of Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals, where we start assaulting people with food.
All right, here we go.
Yes.
Strap in, folks.
Our apologies to our sponsor, HelloFresh.
The buffet is open.
That's right. We encourage you, please, people, don't assault people with food.
No, eat it.
Yeah.
Especially from HelloFresh.
That's right. Eat the food. Don't assault people with it. We start with a 42-year-old Floridian, a woman who is busted for a meat attack on a male partner. And it's not the meat you're thinking of. Exactly, Ziggy. A 42-year-old Floridian threw a raw steak at her victim. God, that's probably a good steak.
You want it rare? He probably asked for it well done. And she's like, over my dead body.
Mm-hmm.
Because you should never eat a well done steak.
You never should. No, that's just shoe leather at that point.
Yeah.
Florida woman is facing a domestic assault charge for allegedly throwing a raw steak at her partner during a confrontation Sunday night in their residence. Police say 42-year-old Rochelle Wright and the male victim were involved in a verbal argument and were intoxicated. There's a shock.
Oh, yeah.
When the uncooked meat went airborne.
You think he stopped and yelled, like, that was $13 right there. What are you doing?
$13? Where are you getting your meat? That's relatively cheap.
Oh, is it?
Well, I mean,
I'm getting my meat from HelloFresh, so I don't know.
Well, I mean, if you're talking like an 8-ounce filet mignon, filet mignon,
Oh, yeah.
8 ounces between $25 and $28.
Do you think they're eating filet mignon though? I don't.
In Florida, I don't know.
I think they're drinking a bunch of Mickeys and they probably get like a chopstick. Maybe.
They're probably eating minute steaks and
yeah,
it's probably a minute steak. You're right. It's probably a $5 to $6 piece of meat. So they're involved in a verbal argument and were intoxicated when the uncooked meat went airborne. Wright and the man, cops report, have been together for 20 years and are the parents of a juvenile.
Oh, okay.
Probably juvenile delinquent. It's my guess.
Probably.
According to a criminal complaint, Wright became angry at the victim while he was seated in a chair inside the family's home in Tarpon Springs. Oh, have you ever been to Tarpon Springs?
No, but I hear it's wonderful, actually.
It is, yeah. Tarpon Springs is a wonderful town. Wright, investigators allege, subsequently picked up the steak and threw it at the victim. The meat, however, missed its mark. Instead, the steak struck the victim's chair in a nearby wall. Oh, so that's a double banger. That's a bing bang. Yeah, that's nice. You got some carom on that deal.
Yeah.
When questioned by police, Wright reportedly copped to the meat flinging, saying she was tired of his behavior and they're arguing.
Right. Yeah, so throw meat at him.
Yeah, Wright was arrested for domestic assault and booked into the county jail for the misdemeanor charge. She was released from custody on her own recognizance. The complaint notes that the steak identified as a weapon was not confiscated by police, but if it was, it would have been cooked about medium rare.
Yeah.
And served maybe with a nice Béarnaise sauce. We're not quite sure, though.
See, what they're hoping is that she throws the baked potato next.
Yes, yes.
Then they'll have a steak and potato, yeah.
Yeah, butter and sour cream on the side, please.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what they're just waiting for, is them to get into an argument again, her throw baked potato.
That's right. We continue with the felonious food action.
I love this segment. This is great.
Well, not for the food, but
no. Like, could you eat that steak and hit his chair and hit the wall? So you can still eat it.
Yeah, you just rinse it off in the sink and cook it up.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I do, but that's just me. A boyfriend is jailed after a felonious cheeseburger battery at Burger King.
Why? Why would you eat the cheeseburger?
The meat's always better at Burger King. That's what the lyric goes in that rap song.
Yes.
The meat tastes better at Burger King. During an argument at Burger King, a Florida man threw a cheeseburger at his... First of all, before we even start with this, who's got the better cheeseburgers? McDonald's? Burger King?
I think Burger King.
I think so, too. I like the flame-broiled cheeseburger.
I do, too. I do.
Yeah.
Like, it tastes better to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I prefer Whopper over Big Mac.
See, I do, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're about to start a burger war here, I'm sure.
I'm sure we are. And we're leaving out the best. The best is Wendy's.
Oh, see, now you're throwing well,
I think they're the best. I'm Wendy's all the way.
Yeah.
In fact, I will rank Wendy's, Burger King, McDonald's. I'm going on record.
Really?
At BCB Winchester, if you want to argue. But yes, Wendy's, Burger King, McDonald's.
See, there's something that, I'd say maybe 10, 15 years ago, you're right. Yeah. But I think Wendy's has gone downhill.
I disagree. I think they've gone uphill.
I think since Dave died.
I think they've gone uphill.
Really?
I have to pleasantly. I would have to disagree. I'm not going to throw a cheeseburger at you, Tim, but I have to disagree.
Hey, you throw a cheeseburger at me, I'll be like Ziggy. I'll catch it before it even hits the ground in my mouth. I won't even use hands.
You'll eat it all one down.
Yep.
Look at that.
one bite, my friend. Yeah. See, I think the last 10 years, Wendy's has gone downhill a little bit.
I have to disagree. I think it's gone up.
Really?
There's something about it, especially their burgers with bacon on it. Their bacon is so good.
Yeah, their bacon is good.
Yeah.
Although I tell you, their chili damn near sent me to the hospital.
Did it?
Yeah, it triggers my gallbladder.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah.
It's got a little bit of kick to it, so I can see that.
Yeah, it triggers my gallbladder big time. But
I only can eat their chili in the wintertime, though. It's something weird about it. It's like I'm only craving it in the wintertime.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I could. Yeah, I mean their burgers are pretty good. Pretty good.
But you think Burger King ahead, huh?
What's that?
You're going Burger King, then Wendy's and McDonald's, or are you going Burger King, McDonald's, Wendy's?
I think Wendy's has the edge there. Wendy's has the edge.
All right.
Although there's a place here in town in the Twin Cities.
Yeah.
Although, you know what? I'm gonna throw a monkey wrench here because I know you probably have it down there, but you probably didn't have it in Wisconsin.
What?
Do you have Five Guys?
Yeah, we have it in both, and I hate those.
You don't like Five Guys?
Sends me straight to the toilet.
Really?
Every time.
Huh.
If I'm trying to lose weight, I eat it. Because I get it as soon. I'm telling you, Tim. As soon as I throw my garbage away, I have to go into the bathroom.
Really?
Yeah,
Is it the grease?
It has to be. I don't know, but I feel lubed up and like, okay, I have to sit down and go now. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but But that's funny. I think Five Guys, I'll take a Five Guys over. That doesn't sound right. I'll take a Five Guys over the rest of them.
You'll take a Five Guys over a Wendy's, huh?
I'll take Five Guys over Wendy's any day. That'll give me some emails. Oh boy. I don't have that issue with Five Guys. If I have mushrooms on them, do you get it with mushrooms?
Oh yeah, you gotta mushrooms.
Mushrooms.
Bacon.
It's the mushrooms that's lubing you up, man.
I've tried without the mushrooms. It's just
Really?
Yeah. And I used to like it because they always have peanuts and stuff there you can eat while you're waiting.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, if I haven't gone in a while and I'm feeling a little backed up, get me some Five Guys.
You're totally losing your sexy factor with the women out there right now.
I know I am. But I only need one woman to think I'm sexy, and she's experienced this with me, so it's okay.
That's true. Although I closed circuit. Let's Mrs. Bruiser turn off your listening device right now. I do get like 2 or 3 emails a week of women talking about the BCB, the big cuddly bear.
Well, thank you, ladies. I appreciate that.
Talking about, he's cute,
Well, I appreciate that.
I don't know why they're talking to me about it. I'm not Chuck Woolery over here.
They can shoot me emails and I'll say thank you personally.
Oh, there you go.
But just know if I go to Five Guys, I'm be sitting in the toilet afterwards.
Evidently, the first date's not at Five Guys.
Like I said, the only woman that it matters, that it cares about, knows it. She's experienced it, and she's okay with it.
It's a pretty shitty first date.
I don't think we've ever had a date there. We were already married, I think, by the time we did Five Guys.
Really?
Nope, she's saying no. She's saying no.
No.
So, yeah, we had a date there. And she married me, folks.
My God. My God. Well, I can just imagine you and Ziggy sitting there at Five Guys sharing a burger. That would be Armageddon.
I'm definitely not giving that to Ziggy. Oh.
No. It'd be terrible.
I gave her... I'm going to take some time, but I gave her too much peanut butter the other day. I didn't know you can give a dog too much peanut butter.
Yes, you can.
So our little thing is we have a Kong, and we put her treats in there, and then we fill it with peanut butter. And while we're eating or whatever, she can have that as a snack. Mm-hmm. Well, one day I just decided to give her another one because she was being a really good puppy.
Yeah.
And, like with kids, I think, with kids, they're being good. You reward them with candy. So we're sleeping that night, and my wife wakes up and goes, "Oh my God," and like hits me. Goes, "How could you do that?" And I'm like, "Do what?" And it hit me, just the smell. Mm-hmm. And we look inside Ziggy's kennel, and it's not a solid thing in sight, but it's brown and it is bad. And there's poor Ziggy trying her best not to, because she knows she's not supposed to. Aww. So we're trying to tell her she's okay. She didn't do anything wrong, but we're trying to clean it up, and we're trying not to dry heave. And she looks at us with that look like, I'm going to go again. So here I am running up to the door, holding her like, please don't go yet. We had to wash her. We had to wash all the everything. And then afterwards, it was like telling her she was okay. She didn't do anything wrong. But now I make sure we monitor her peanut butter consumption. Yeah. So I don't dare give her a Five Guys.
I guess not, huh? I suppose we should read this story.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, the guy throwing the burger.
What's that?
The guy throwing the burger.
Yes. During an argument at Burger King, a Florida man threw a cheeseburger at his girlfriend with such force that when the sandwich struck the back of her head, the woman fell over a curb onto the ground. This according to police.
That was amazing.
That guy needs to be pitching for the Twins.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
I was going to say, we just got rid of Hader. Let's get this guy.
There you go. 41-year-old James Hunt, a new acquisition by the Milwaukee Brewers, according to the criminal complaint, and his girlfriend and cohabitant argued Saturday afternoon about the victim not eating her food at a Burger King in Clearwater, a city in the Tampa Bay area. What better way to get her to eat
food and throw it at her?
Who gives a shit, really?
I don't know.
So she doesn't eat her food. Who cares?
Yeah, unless it's a medical problem, don't worry about it.
Even then, who cares?
Yeah.
There's this little thing called a wrapper in a bag. She can take it home with her.
True.
Who cares?
That's true.
So she's not hungry. Who cares?
Yeah.
The dispute turned violent, cops say, when the 53-year-old... You know you have control issues? When your lady doesn't eat a burger and you're like, eat the fucking burger! Who cares?
Just eat the burger! I spent $1 on this.
The dispute turned violent, cops say, when the 53-year-old woman began to leave the restaurant. That's when Hunt allegedly threw a cheeseburger at the victim, striking her in the back of the head.
You're not leaving without finishing this?
What? Okay. I have major questions here, but I'm not gonna ask them right now. So he threw a cheeseburger at the victim, striking her in the back of the head. This action caused the victim to fall over a curb onto the ground. The victim's chin and lip hit the pavement, resulting in an abrasion and a cut. Upon arriving at the Burger King, cops observed blood on the victim's shirt and shorts and cheese on her shirt and in her hair. What did he wind up? Do a full wind up in a pitch?
I think he full on the mound, person on first, person on second, big wind up, threw it right at her.
Do you think he called the play-by-play as he was doing it?
Yeah, oh yeah, he was you know what? He was at Fenway Park, sold out stadium, bottom of the ninth, down by 1. Actually up by 1. Got to strike this person out.
Yeah.
Beans are in the head.
Jeez. Well, Hunt reportedly admitted to throwing the burger at the victim. He denied striking her while she was down. Oh, of course he did. He's a classy gentleman.
Oh, yeah. He wouldn't hit her when she's down.
No. Hunt also told police that he did not think the cheeseburger strike caused her to slip on the curb and fall onto the ground. Charged with felony domestic battery, Hunt is being held in the county jail on $15,000 bond and has been ordered by a judge to have no contact with the victim. Hunt, identified as a mechanic in court papers, has 2 prior domestic battery convictions, both of which date back to 2002 in Arkansas.
He needs anger management.
He needs something. First of all, I think the guy's got mommy issues, 1.
Oh, yeah.
2, I don't know. I could go into a psychiatric profile on this guy, but he's just, I don't know. He needs
I would just say he's not right in the head.
Yeah, exactly. Not right in the head by far. Finally, on the program today, balls well that ends well.
That's going to be the title of our Florida Naked Man flip book.
That's right. Balls well that ends well. Not every game ends well for everybody. There's a winner and there's a loser.
Yes.
Some people, when they lose, say they feel like they're dying.
Oh yeah, I cried my senior year when we lost our last game.
Yeah. Well, it felt like you were dying, right?
I wouldn't say dying, but pretty close, yeah.
Yeah. Well, this guy literally died.
Wait, what?
A man was killed by a 22-pound metal ball during the Highland Games in the Netherlands. A man touting...
That's why you don't streak the Highland Games, Tim.
That's right.
You've been talking about it for years. I keep telling you no. Here's why you don't streak the Highland Games.
And I still want to, though. A man touring a Dutch castle died after he was hit with a 22-pound metal ball thrown by a competitor at the Open Highland Games.
Oops.
East Brabant police say the 65-year-old... Is this Geldrup? Yeah, local died Sunday after being hit by a metal ball in use at a sporting event. The man was touring the Geldrup Castle Gardens in the southeastern Netherlands when the ball went over a wall and struck him, killing him instantly.
So the people on the field are celebrating because this guy just launched it over the wall. They're like, "Oh my God, look at that throw!" And on the other side, the guy just going about his business.
Yep. It's just like, boom.
Hey, how come we yell heads up?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Because somebody probably yelled heads up and you went, huh?
Yep,
Bam.
and boom. Yep. The pendulum dropped. We saw the ball go over the hedge, and then we heard a woman screaming very loudly, said one witness. It wasn't a spectator, so he didn't see the ball coming at all. Hence the heads up.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Emergency services rushed to the scene when event organizers attempted CPR, but the victim, who was not publicly identified, could not be saved. The sporting event was then canceled.
You think?
Yeah, I don't think at that point you say, "Oh, game on."
You cancel the event or you cancel the tours going on at the same time, literally feet away.
Yeah, exactly.
They failed to look at the scoreboard. Because when you go to a hockey game or a baseball game, the scoreboard tells you to keep your eye on the puck.
Yeah.
Or keep your eye on the ball.
Yep.
They forgot to inform these couple during their tour. Like, during our tour of the castle, please keep an eye on the Highland Games because they will be launching large metal balls at you.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. And make sure you step to the side when you see it coming. Yeah. Don't stand there thinking it's going to change trajectory either.
Yeah.
This is an interesting quote. We are flabbergasted that something like this can happen, said organizer. I believe is it Adri Geertz? Adri Geertz, I believe. Chairman of the Foundation Village Marketing, Geldrop Mirlo. You don't expect it. It is the biggest disaster that can happen to all of us. We're devastated.
Not all of us. Just the one guy.
Yeah, just the one guy. Just the one guy. And hey, it can happen.
Like the player is probably excited because his stats went way up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just ask the one guy at the baseball game who gets hit in the head by a foul ball. He didn't think it could happen to him, but it did. Yeah. According to witnesses, the athlete who threw the ball was one of the top competitors in the sports. They call him Old Eagle Eye Dick. No, I'm just kidding. The boy who...
Now his new nickname's Killer.
Yeah, his new name is Killer, exactly. The boy who swung the ball was completely upset, one person said. He was not a rookie, but really a top player who had already participated in big competitions before. Geertz said all the competitors were distraught over the death and were being provided with services. He said he has not spoken to the athlete who threw the hammer. I haven't spoken to him myself, but he's completely beside himself. This should never have happened to him, Geertz said. There are players who practice this game internationally at a high level and with a lot of experiences and are extremely experienced, but then apparently an accident can happen, he added. Deputy Mayor Hans Vandelaar released a statement offering condolences to the family. We are all very affected by this terrible accident. Our condolences go out to the bereaved families, Lahr said. Netherlands police are investigating.
And the wife got a T-shirt.
Yes, she did. She got a souvenir T-shirt saying, I went to the event and all I got were balls to the chin. So there you go. That's Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals for today.
Love it.
Yeah,
love it.
Is that in bad taste? I can never tell.
That brings a whole new meaning to balls to the wall, doesn't it?
It does. It does. It really does. I want to thank our guest today, who luckily didn't have to put up with this part of the program. That's our offer, and Leigh Hunt. By the way, the book, we should clarify, I Don't Like Mondays, is available at Wild Blue Press and is not on sale until August 30th. But please go to Wild Blue Press, and I have a hard time saying that, Wild Blue Press, wildbluepress.com, and pre-order, because by the time you order, get your order and pay for it, it will be shipped out and to you, and you'll have it by the release date. So there you go. But yeah, pre-order that, and it's important to pre-order it ahead of time. Be one of the first to have that book in your hands. I'll tell you, I read it over the weekend. Fascinating book. It's a fascinating book. Lots of good stuff in there, and really, we just scratched the surface today on on that book with Leigh Hunt. And again, like I said, the story in itself of America's first modern school shooting is, if you were alive in 1979, is a fascinating one. You know, most of us were latchkey kids back then. It's very relatable. And you think, you know, I could have been, you know, one turn to the left or to the right of being a lot like that kid. And you think, you know, it's just one of those things. And you think about where we're at in society now, and how do we go about stemming the tide of school shootings? It's one of those things that makes you think, especially with the case of Brenda Spencer. Bruiser, what have we got going on with you here with the underwater needlepoint?
Training on Wednesdays at the AML Training Center, and then this weekend I make my return to Bristol, Tennessee.
Really?
Yes, I'm wrestling Jason Kincaid, and a few viewers actually have reached out to me on social media saying they will be there. So if you are there, thank you. Please come up and say hello, get a picture, and if you want to say hello to the cruiser, I will make sure it gets back to him.
Right on.
Yeah.
Less than 2 weeks before Michigan Paracon, folks, there are still some weekend passes available. Go to SaultSt. Marie.com or miparacon.com and get your passes, your weekend passes. Join us out at Michigan Paracon 25th through the 27th. I'll be speaking on Friday morning with Tim Weisberg. We'll be talking about some creepy, scary, and silly stories of the paranormal and paranormal media. Again, that's Friday morning. I think it's 10 o'clock. Tim and I speak. Be sure to join us out at Michigan Paracon. If you can't attend, well, too bad, so sad. I don't know if it's being recorded. I don't think it's being recorded. So, hey, you know what? Come on out. If you want to see me at other paranormal conventions, here's what you do. You get a hold of that promoter and say, hey, I want to see Tim from Darkness Radio out at your convention. Get a hold of that promoter and say, how come I don't see Tim Dennis at your convention? I keep seeing the same old people at your convention. I want to see that Timmy D guy. Or I want to see Beer City Bruiser. I want to see the boys from Darkness Radio at your convention. Talk to the promoters of those conventions and let them know that you want to see the Darkness Radio boys at your convention. It's real simple. Just get a hold of them. A lot of them have Facebook pages. A lot of them have ads that they're posting on social media. Just let them know in the comments section. Want to see the guys from Darkness Radio at your convention. It's as simple as that. And we'll come on out and we'll make our appearance at that convention because we'd love to come out and meet you guys. That's
oh, yeah, definitely. I love meeting fans.
Exactly. So that'll do it for today. Tomorrow on Darkness Radio, we've got supernatural news.
Ooh,
yeah. And
exciting.
Then Thursday, we're going to sit down with Shane Cashman. We'll be talking Civil War ghosts.
Ooh.
Yeah. So
one of my favorite places is Gettysburg. So.
Well, we're going to Georgia.
Oh, okay. Hey, that's a drive for me. Awesome.
And we're gonna be talking about some unusual things like lost Civil War gold.
Ooh, okay.
And we're going to talk about a town in Georgia where some strange things are happening. Everything from UFOs to Civil War ghosts and people who are haunted by everything from the same UFOs to ghosts that won't leave them alone, to strange happenings. Even one woman who believes that poodles are connected to the government.
I can't wait to hear that.
And that there's some sort of alien species. It's bizarre. It's just put it this way, you're in for a wild ride on Thursday.
I'm excited. This is gonna be great.
Yeah. Poodles are a weird species according to this one woman. So and that they're always watching and always listening. It's very bizarre, Bruiser, I'll tell you that. So that's coming up on Thursday here on the program. For Beer City Bruiser, I'm Tim Dennis. Thank you so much for joining us today for Dumb Crime, Stupid Criminals and for True Crime Tuesday. We'll see you tomorrow on the best in paranormal talk radio. This is Darkness Radio.